Hello. Welcome to the Xirtus.
Tonight, 10 hospitalized, 1 dies after E. coli infection linked to McDonald's quarter pounder, says CDC. Harris says she's ready if Trump tries prematurely to declare victory, but she isn't worried about sexism. And a former Abercrombie CEO, Mike Jeffries, arrested in sex trafficking case. Harvey Weinstein also diagnosed with bone marrow cancer. I'm just kidding. Wouldn't that be funny if we were like a normal show? We just did that shit. I don't know. It's the 100th episode. More importantly, how are you? You know, everybody.
Wow.
It's the 100th episode. It's the 100th episode of Synctank. Isn't that neat?
100 episodes? Wow, that's crazy. Congratulations.
Theoretically, like Chairman Mao or Stalin might say there was like 105 or something. Because I think there's a few that have disappeared over the years. You know, there's been a couple that we've had deleted.
Zach, is that Chairman Meow?
This is Chairman Meow. Yeah. Sissy Hanksaw, who's she's got 3 less toes than the Guinness record for most toes on a cat.
Aww.
Yep, we got 7 on the front on each one of these. But she's named after a Tom Robbins novel character named Sissy Hanksaw. It's a hitchhiker with giant thumbs. So yeah,
I have to ask because I'm an absolute rube. But is that cat really in the Guinness Book of World Records?
Sissy's not. She has 3 less toes than the record for most toes on a cat.
Right.
So
she, is the record?
Well, so I think 28. How does the math work? Because she has 7 on each of the front and 6 on the back, and whatever cat has more, they have like 3 more. So
what do you get? Let's say that you had the most toes. You get something?
Is Guinness from Ireland?
Yeah, they can give you a free beer.
You get a Guinness.
You get a signed picture of Jeff Goldblum from Beyond Therapy. I don't know. Did you ever see
that
this movie?
Be cool.
I just saw this movie the other day, and I didn't realize. I was like, who is like his? Because he's a bisexual, and the whole time his date says she hates homosexual men, which is like.
Is his date the lady from Airplane?
It's the lady from Airplane and the mother from Friday Got Fingered, but the boyfriend is the 6-fingered man from Princess Bride, which is pretty based for some reason.
Or just AI time travel.
I was like transhumanism. That's one of the next steps. If you watch Ghost in the Shell, one of the first things people do is they turn their fingers so they can split into 2 fingers, and then those 2 fingers can split into 4 fingers. And before you know it, they're typing it like
Hail Hydra
word per second because they got like 20 fingers to play with.
I had a sync film that I think you saw, David. The Fly with the maggot, the Melvin's record, the maggot.
Yeah,
and it's super heavy.
Really. That's actually one of the better sync. A lot of people have sent me sync films over the years, and that's one of the top shelves from other people. Patrick Svek is responsible for some phenomenal sync film work, but yeah, that's pretty good.
Speaking of random sync work, I just was watching like by accident. This wasn't on purpose. I just started watching movies, and it turned out like every movie I happened to download this week was a New World Pictures movie. You know what I mean? And that's like Coca-Cola Kid, Hellraiser. I can't even. There's just so many great examples. But of course, Beyond Therapy and The Big Chill and everything else, they're all New World Pictures. And then we just saw this that Robotober is exploring all things weird stuff New World put out, and nothing is weirder than For Safety's Sake, In the Neighborhood, an educational film starring Gary Coleman. So I don't know how you feel about New World Pictures, but have you seen all the New World Pictures? Like New World Pictures, their logo, man. It's like ominous. It's beautiful. It's great. And yet you'd think like New World, like order, so you probably wouldn't like it. But all the movies they made, they're like part of that Agenda 21 pilot program kind of. They just seem like so forward thinking. Like Robert Altman from MASH making psychotherapy Esalen flicks, right?
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Word. Yeah. No, that's actually a really good way to just if you have the time. Just exploring like if you just take a production company and just I'm going to watch all these Touchstone movies, like it's kind of fun.
Dude, Coca-Cola Kid, completely outrageous movie. All about like what it is to be ideologically American in the world, right? Anywhere you go, you're still Americana, right? The American spirit prevails. Yeah.
To go across the pond, you guys ever seen Oh Lucky Man with Malcolm McDowell? So it's his story. So if you look at the audio commentary from Lindsay Anderson, who directed this movie, he explains how this came to be. Like, so there's a movie called If that's from the late 60s, I think, with Malcolm McDowell, where he's basically like Columbine, shoots up his school. But it's obvious that he was archetype casted for A Clockwork Orange because of this movie If. And so they'll even reference back to this movie and A Clockwork Orange all throughout Oh Lucky Man. In fact, Oh Lucky Man includes the cast of A Clockwork Orange, like a bunch of people from the cast, including his dad. And a lot of them play multiple roles, and then those have like kind of like humor attached to who they happen to be playing in connection to. This is also Grady from The Shining, and he's in Barry.
I'm sure he said Barry Lyndon.
Man is actually, it's a story that Malcolm McDowell came up with, which is based on a Voltaire book. I forget the name of the book. I'd have to look it up. If you look up Oh Lucky Man, it should pop up. But it's a question of optimism. So there's the argument that Malcolm McDowell is the only truly optimistic character in A Clockwork Orange. Why? Because he's the only one who isn't a hypocrite in his violence. Because basically everyone is violent in A Clockwork Orange in one form or another, but he's the one who owns it. So it's kind of in a Nietzschean sense. So it doesn't excuse him, but if you're going to contrast and compare who the greater evils are in it, but basically this is a trilogy. And there's actually, Mark Leclerc would argue that the fourth one, Britannia Hospital, is included, but there's an order you're supposed to watch these movies. You're supposed to watch If, A Clockwork Orange, followed by Oh Lucky Man. So yeah, it's kind of a musical because there's a band that comes in that's with one of the main guy from the Animals, and they just speak to what's happening throughout the film, giving it a structure, musically. But yeah, it's Helen Mirren too is in A Lucky Man. But yeah, it's a question of like he smiles at the beginning when asked to smile when they're trying to get him to go out to sell coffee beans, and he smiles really easily and he shakes her hand and he goes through all this terrible shit, this whole horrific story, and then by the end of it, Lindsay Anderson, kind of spoiler alert, is casting Malcolm McDowell for the part in Oh Lucky Man, and he asks him to smile, and after everything he's been through, he has a hard time smiling, and apparently this took 30 takes, but Lindsay Anderson hits him over the head super hard with a magazine to get him to smile, and it's like, come on, snap out of it, it's like, it's this question of can you maintain optimism throughout everything, and one of Anthony Burgess's main complaints about A Clockwork Orange was that the American version of the book, just like the movie, leaves out chapter 21. So when Alex is done, he goes and gets back at everyone else who had got back at him. And so Anthony Burgess, I guess, argued that they had removed a shred of optimism from his story by doing that.
Well, that, and I would almost say the CIA maybe intervened, and they were like, you can't tell people that the MK Ultra programming can be reverted. that it's not permanent.
Ooh,
Right?
snap.
Because
Yeah, yeah.
that last chapter makes all the damn difference in the world. It shows that it doesn't stick. Even though
Right.
he was traumatized for whatever reason, he eventually reverts back to his normal state or whatever his first trauma was, and
Right.
he's back to being the ultra violent baddie that they kind of claim to have a cure for.
Right, but it has one of those classic Kubrick endings that leaves you thinking, because at least he gives you "I was cured all right" with a visual of him as the beast with the Scarlet Woman above him. You know.
Fair, yeah.
Did you see Guy Ritchie's new movie, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare?
No, I saw Guy Ritchie had produced a series based on one of his last films, but yeah.
So this movie is just like a firm reminder that British people are psychopaths, like by like romanticized media. Like the whole point of this movie is that they kill people. They killed Nazis. They kill everybody, and they're just super chill about it while they do it. So they're just sort of always sort of polite. Like, trouble with these Nazis is they just won't stop giving us trouble. So I suppose we'll have to just do them in. Well, the devil with them. You know, that kind of attitude, this monotonous chill the entire time while they're just walking around murdering. It's the Inglorious Bastards thing.
Is this what like
but
a
British.
Mormon warfare might be like?
No, I don't know.
I'm really sorry about this, but
I don't know, because like the Mormons still like lit trains on fire. They just weren't allowed to kill any people. The Mormons were more like, I really wish I could kill you, but my new religion tells me I can't kill you. So I guess what I'll do is like hands behind my back, light your stuff on fire and make it so you starve in the snow. Like I don't know what else to do. Like this is more like they pop through, they murder you. This is a true story about a group of at the time, right? The British knew everything going on in World War II. They had all of the comms of the Nazis and the Soviets and the Americans because they had a computer that could decrypt all the comms. And so they were calculating who died. They made sure that lots of Germans died and that as few British as had to died, but also that some British died to make it look real, right? And so this is just this crazy calculated thing. While simultaneously, they know that certain boats are really important. Like, for instance, this Duchess boat that the Italians have in South Africa would be very useful. I'm sorry, in North Africa, would be very useful to the U-boats. Like the German U-boats would need supplies that could be brought by the Duchessa. So if these guys could destroy the Duchessa, then that means that they basically annihilated and sieged the U-boats' capacity to really fight in the war effort, right? All before the Americans even get involved in the war. Well, because the Duchessa has been reinforced and it's so well designed, in true history, they could not blow up the Duchessa. They did not have the capacity to destroy such a well-built and well-fortified ship. So
what was the largest U-boat port? That has significance, right? The Ace of Bases. Base of Aces.
Base of Aces, right.
Those planes I was noticing, those are B-24 Liberators.
Yeah.
That, it seems like in World War II, a lot of the planes were, a little more, they're like liberating. Wasn't the Obliterator.
Well, so that's kind of the funny point. So because they couldn't blow up the boat, they end up stealing it, right? And it's like that because they have that much control over what's going on, and that they actually can't blow up the thing. Then they steal the thing, and like this is a true story, which I think only in 2012, 2016 did they start publishing Winston Churchill's private notes on some of these things. So it's like very recently that they've admitted a lot of what was going on in World War II. It's only in the last 10 years.
Right.
Max, right?
What's the deal with like Guy Ritchie's whole like trajectory? Because you have Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. My favorite is Revolver, and that's the one that's just loaded with European Kabbalah. Even though you would think that he would be drawing upon the school of Kabbalah that Madonna belonged to,
as opposed to Texas Kabbalah.
Yeah, no, it's like it's thelemic. It's like, so what's the deal there? But
there's
anyway,
definitely
he did Aladdin, like with Will Smith or something, wasn't it? Like, and it's just, I mean, I haven't seen it. Maybe it's the greatest movie, but it's one of those things like with, Lars von Trier and freaking Twin Peaks, David Lynch, is that like he goes to his meditation retreat and he's like sees him in the outfit and then he goes and hides in a desk in the other room because he couldn't handle seeing somebody who he respects so much being reduced to a quote ice cream salesman. So it's like I can't watch that movie because I'm afraid. Like I like Guy Ritchie movies, you know. I'm like, oh no, is it going to be one of those?
I mean, there's huge symbolism for sure, and there's an interesting part where a German soldier says, like, what do you think about the Jewish question? And this lady who is Jewish says to him, like, well, I've always thought that your leader has greatly underestimated a people that have thrived with the boot over their neck for the last 3,000 years, right? And it's like it's a big miscalculation. But she calls them the tribe of Judea, right? And it's a big part of the movie, even like the triumph of the surreptitious tribe of Judea, this woman who's able to completely maneuver all of this. It's very much like Mission Impossible. Like it's a gaslighting effort to control the entire port where everyone is under the guise of one person or another person, but the entire thing is a show. So they all believe what's going on, whatever they need them to believe, right?
You guys have seen obviously Inglourious Bastards, but
so I watched that on my first honeymoon right after an earthquake in San Diego.
Oh, have you ever seen Carnage? Roman Polanski's film Carnage. That's kind of done in the style of a play. It's got Kate Winslet, John C. Reilly, that guy who plays the Nazi in Inglourious Bastards, and Jodie Foster.
The pretty blonde Nazi.
There, the guy, the villain of the movie.
Okay,
he gets his forehead cut up at the end. I forget what that actor's name is, but yeah. So in this film, there's a scene where John C. Reilly. It comes out that he had killed his kid's hamster by releasing it into the city. It turns out it's not dead at the end, but they're having this argument. John C. Reilly and that guy from Inglourious Bastards are having an argument about the rodent, and he's like, "It's just a rodent. Who cares?" You know, like, and it's like this whole question. But then, if you remember in Inglourious Bastards, that same guy is telling the Jewish man who's hiding the family below the floorboards, and he's talking about if a squirrel went into your home, you wouldn't freak out the same way that you would if it was a rat. And he has this whole, it's, you know, and so, but I want to actually put them together. Maybe I'll upload it to Twitter, just side by side, of this argument that he's having of like being like, you killed this rodent, you know, and he's like, so what? It's just a rodent. And he's like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is a living being. You just set it loose. Like, what do you don't care about it? And then in the other one, he's like, well, wouldn't you kill the rat? And it's just
that's a
very two sides of a similar argument.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the shadow and its other side. It's. Do
you remember that like Dodge Ram commercial? It was like a black and white Dodge Ram commercial, and there's like the difference between a rodent. No, it was like way longer ago. It was like the difference between a rodent and a rat. Is that fluffy tail? Is it that big of a deal? Is it really that big of a deal to have a fluffy tail? Hell yeah, it is. Dodge Ram, no?
Really? That would be perfect then. I need to put all three of those up together to juxtapose.
Yeah. It was weird, dude. The Dodge Ram commercials right around the Y2K, not like the eschatology or apocalyptic period of commercials, right? You're like, you don't know how the world is going to end. But
right. And then you have Willard.
Dude, what was that new? There's a new Polanski movie, though. We should get... you do that, I'll look up the new Polanski movie.
I've got like a little bit of a bumpkin question for you guys on this one too, specifically Polanski, because that movie, remember I saw Carnage, and Carnage was shot in Brooklyn, or the movie takes place in Brooklyn, but it was shot in Paris.
Brooklyn because he's not allowed in the country, but
you can't leave France unless being. So I guess my bumpkin question though is it not problematic for actors to go and cater to the fact that he doesn't want to be extradited because of these reasons? Isn't there like a Me Too ban on working with Polanski, or is he transcendent? And it's like you're...
Yeah, so there's a timeline in which he became more accepted in Hollywood. And if you want to read something interesting, check out Emmanuel Seiner's letter to the Academy, where they asked her to join the Me Too movement and what she had to say to them. Because she was basically like, you're a bunch of hypocrites. And she told them why. It's actually a really good letter. But yeah, because they all applauded for the pianist. And then they had the Me Too movement. And it was like, oh, so where you guys stand. Like, you're not consistent is her complaint. It's like, we tell you one thing and then you tell you where you know.
So
Yeah.
she made a good point, and Polanski's off the hook because of it.
No,
It's
not.
a good movie.
It's because
It's
of the hot tub time machine that Jack Nicholson has.
Okay, honestly, that one is acceptable. Yeah.
Right. No. I don't. The thing that's a problem about having conversations about this and a lot of other cultural things, that to say anything other than a predetermined script of what you're exactly supposed to say in response to all of this indicates that you are siding with the predator. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. I've gone off on the show about Samantha Geimer many times, you know, and her position on the matter is, it's, you know.
Yeah, she basically wished that people would like leave her alone. It's like I don't know what I just saw recently. Another example of this, and I don't have the sighting this week, but an actress accusing her mother of setting it up for her to be essentially, a present for some sick perverted producer. But in order for her career to go, I think it might have been either Jennifer Connelly or Demi Moore. It might have been Demi Moore, right? Like, so like, this is such a common horrible thing, and people forget that this is basically the evolution of vaudeville. These are not roles of intelligentsia that were super revered and treated well. These are like the worst possible situations that you could end up in, right? That's the way it used to be to become a celebrity.
Well, isn't this also like, if you wanted your kid to learn in ancient Greece, if you wanted him to learn from like the greatest mentors, you just be like, go with this guy, and when you come back,
right?
I think that's what they teach us Catholics.
He was actually Plato was his students, you know. And when we say Platonic now, we treat it that it's non-sexual, when actually Plato was sleeping with his students. So what the hell? But yeah, no, it's just,
I don't know. That's a whole other thing, though, because aren't we like a really hyper-sexually repressed society for the sake of controlling us through our sexuality? It's like the most practical thing for a fascist authoritarian state. And I'm saying that, like, going back beyond the 20th century, we have witch trials where they're controlling women. We have every kind of situation where it's like, this person's too old, this person's too young, whatever, this person's gay, this person's a lesbian. All of this stuff seems like it comes in these waves right before major wars, too, or right after major wars, because then they can say, oh, this is the justification for rape. Like, go out there and get war brides. This is the justification for, what is pornography? Other than the automation of showing you your girls next doors being raped, right? Systematically raped.
In many cases, this is a bit distinct, though, because you're dealing with a situation where casting agencies are doubling as prostitution rings, where parents are essentially pimping out their children so that they can make it in Hollywood.
I thought we weren't going to do
children
topical news.
Will cover for the people who are doing the stuff, because at the same time, they're forced to be covering for their parents who put them into that position with that in mind, for them to make it. And so the thing with Polanski is that it happened at Jack Nicholson's home. So you say, like, the hot tub time machine, that place has a direct tunnel to the Playboy Mansion. We've discussed this before.
Yeah, totally.
So it's like,
that's where I was getting at with that.
And then when you say, and I agree with you, Thomas, but when you say, in a sense, because when you're saying, does the person go off the hook? My reaction to that is, why is Jack Nicholson perpetually off the hook? Like, we know, like, you look at Kubrick's Driver and what he had to say about him. Like, he is the epitome of that phenomenon in Hollywood, and yet we pick our scapegoats, and who decides who the scapegoats are? You know what I mean?
Is it because he has a big hog?
Or is it because his wife?
Like, whoa,
died?
We saw that. They're like, well, he does have a big hog.
I think once you get investigated for your wife dying, then everything after that is just, life is no longer baseball, And I think that's what I've seen also with J. Edgar Hoover and Charlie Chaplin moving to Switzerland. There's a lot of just moving to Switzerland eventually for America. I think that's kind of the goal for America. They're like, hey, either you succeed here or you don't, but get out. Like, play the game and leave, like the way we do in New York.
There's a That 70s show sync there, too. I guess we're talking about the 70s. And
Danny Masterson, who is in the
Ashton
faculty.
Kutcher and Mila Kunis hopping ship.
Caught up in this shit right now. It's so crazy.
You're that National Lampoon's That 70s show, European Vacation.
Yeah. I have a feeling.
I want to say that this is wrong. Hugh Hefner is not P. Diddy. P. Diddy is way lower and different. And I just wouldn't. Not that Hugh Hefner's like great either, but just
No.
you know what I mean.
I
Like
feel like
closer
you
to
would
an
willingly
Epstein.
give Hugh Hefner the blackmail he needed, and P. Diddy would force you to give him the blackmail.
Yeah.
Well, Hugh Hefner was basically running a prostitution ring in a sense too, and this is spoken to by a lot of ex-playmates where they would be hooked up with senators, people in power, and they wouldn't really have much of an option. So it's basically they were just like thrown in with these guys, and they're like, yeah, this is how it would work. And that didn't occur, from my understanding, like early on necessarily. Like when Playboy first started, it was like because they didn't even take their own photos; they bought them from other people. Like once the Playboy mansions were fully established and all this stuff was in place, then it turned into there was a prostitution side to it as well. I don't know of any instances of blackmail, but at the same time, that doesn't prove anything because the very nature of blackmail is that you probably won't find out about it because blackmail works.
So Hugh Hefner seems like he had a different, like amongst the, the purveyors of pornography and pornographers, amongst the Larry Flints and the, really crappy sex trafficking, the whole industry. It seemed like with Hugh Hefner, it's at least like, oh, well, at least he didn't like necessarily drug anyone and there was some level of consent. That's what seems to be portrayed, but I don't know if there's any truth to that. But that seems to be the...
I wouldn't go that far either. I think it's more that like he had a temple, you know what I mean? He had the keys, and he passed around the keys to the Temple of Apollo. That was like a major thing.
Okay.
Omar got the keys to the Temple of Apollo from Hefner. So there are definitely the same kinds of things going on, but it was a little bit more socially acceptable, I think, in the 50s after World War II when they put Hefner in charge of this, right?
There was some clip I just saw of a Jimmy Kimmel with P. Diddy talking about him giving the keys to Justin Bieber when he was like, what, 15, 16? He was 15 because they were talking about the Lamborghini and he has had his permit. And he was like, can I just take it? He's like, oh, when you're 16. And then Jimmy Kimmel put him on the spot, and he was like, "So, what are you guys going to do?" And he's like, "Yeah." He was talking about how, like, he said something real quick, like, you don't talk about what brother, your uncle P. Diddy and you do, Justin. You know that.
What about the palace though? Because I know that Zach is actually in this movie. This is Zach right here, right? This is his scene. I don't know. What did you think about? There you are. What did you think about the palace?
I didn't see the palace.
I'd heard that it was going to come out, and then I lost track of it. So I guess I got to read that.
Dude, 2023. Like, who's got time to watch movies in the last 4 years? I'm still. You still mention movies from like the 90s, and I'm like, oh, I need to add that to my list.
Well, I'm glad because Britt brought up to the attention that there's this drama set on New Year's Eve, 1999, a luxurious Swiss hotel, where the lives of hotel workers and various guests intertwine. I feel like this has to be his Wes Anderson.
What is that Madonna one? Was like 21 Motels or something? It sounds like a similar plot.
Wasn't that a Frank Zappa movie?
I was going to say,
no, not 21. There's that's 400
like
motels.
400.
That's 400 motels. But there was a Madonna one like with that dancer that's in Bitter Honeymoon. You know who I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, Madonna's choreographer, yeah.
Yeah, he's in that movie, I think, with, what is it? Something, yeah, Madonna, 21 Motels, something along those lines.
Well, I definitely connect the palace with the Grand Budapest Hotel. If that was,
that was
I feel like there's definitely kind of a tie of that to an extent. This is maybe somehow a Bilderberg reference, but that there are people that are in this expensive, every level of person. So John Cleese is in this.
4 Rooms is what I was thinking about.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I like that. The short films.
The Quentin Tarantino movie?
That's with Madonna. Yeah. But it's like this intersection. There's an intersectional thing going on between the stories. But I guess it is a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah, I forgot that he did that. That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, well, she's a witch, right?
Yeah, it's probably one of his movies.
Actually. Yeah.
Well, he puts himself in the last room, I believe, the 4th room where they chop the finger off. Spoiler alert.
Yep.
Sacrificial finger.
All right, what about the Tenet? You had thoughts on the Tenet earlier, David?
I got a lot of thoughts on the Tenet.
Alright, go for it.
It's part of his apartment trilogy, which includes Repulsion, Rosemary's Baby too. And so this movie deals with Egyptian magic, and there's a lot of heavy duty symbolism in it. There's like these weird things that he does throughout his whole film, catalog, where he'll have like oranges dropping on the floor, like repeatedly. Like in The Ninth Gate, you'll see it. Objects like knives or syringes landing on a hardwood floor and landing straight up. That one's pretty creepy because you could tie it to the fact that Sharon Tate was killed with a knife, and that knife was found stuck in the couch right by her. She was found on the zebra rug. The murder took place within 24 hours of that iconic photo of Abbey Road being taken at the zebra crossing. Right. But so this is
August 8th
transvestite thing where he's being possessed by the previous tenant to this room, and so he gets to play out his weird fetish of I guess it's not that weird these days, right? It's very normalized, but at least at the time, it's probably a bit more.
When you say he the character in the movie, or Polanski
stars in his own movie in this case.
So, right, but is this his fetish, or is it the fetish of the character that he's playing?
Oh, I guess the way I phrased that was weird. It's his fetish in real life that he was able to incorporate in this story, where he's being taken over by this woman's soul, basically. So it's through Egyptian magic, she's transferred her soul. She's taking him over. She's becoming him. But then it becomes this whole question of is he just insane, or is this what's actually happening? So yeah.
Strange stuff.
That fits.
Why not both?
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Well, this movie has an insane twist at the end that I wouldn't want to spoil, but yeah.
Fair enough. But okay, so then you said part of the 3 series. We have Rosemary's Baby, The Tenant. What's the third one?
Repulsion, which was actually hugely influential to Pink Floyd when they first started, as you can see in a more recent Pink Floyd documentary where they're like going over the history with Syd Barrett and everything. Although they lie in it, they lie a few times. But the history of Syd Barrett's kind of crazy. But
and so what happens in Repulsion? This girl is like goes insane.
She goes nuts. Yeah, they're all movies to deal with insanity. But although with Rosemary's Baby, it turns out that she's not crazy. So which is a play on being. It's about her gaslighting. She's been gaslit. And conspiracy that if that idea of just because you're paranoid doesn't mean that there is no conspiracy, whereas in this case there is no conspiracy. She's just going freaking nuts. And so each one of those 3 films deals with insanity in a different way, including the possibility that you're not insane at all, you just feel that way. Yeah. So this has psychedelic parts to this movie, like the special effects, like her walls will move and do weird shit, kind of like Constantine, But yeah, very bizarre, very much an art film. But yeah.
So what do you feel about? Kind of to Thomas's question about Polanski. Then, like, where are we with Polanski? We
don't have him babysit.
Well,
is that basically it? Like, because he seems like the least evil one of them. Because
make him use the front door.
I feel like they threw him to the wall. All right, here's my crazy conspiracy theory. Polanski being thrown to the wolves means that maybe Nicholson setting him up with a 15-year-old kid and then him being thrown to the wolves means he's like the least horrible of all of his friends that are the ones that threw him to the wolves. Is that too crazy? That's complete speculation. But
when in Rome.
No, this is the thing. That's how like Hollywood Babylon was written as kind of a propaganda technique to get people to dismiss all the weird stuff going on in Hollywood. This is so complex. Like you got to look at like Manson. What would have happened?
That's not what I'm doing, memory man. I'm just trying to figure out like is he actually?
See, that's the thing. You have to have a conversation. It's like
I want to know. Did he witness some other people doing such horrible things that they cast him out?
Sure.
I do want to quote Doug Stanhope here, which a little bit out of context from when he said it, but I think it applies perfectly here and everywhere else. But your suck doesn't make my
Yeah.
suck less.
Suck less. Yeah.
There you go. This is politics in a nutshell, man.
Just because you have
You know what I
crap
mean?
all
Like,
over
it's all the
your
whataboutism,
shirt
where you're
doesn't
like,
mean
hey,
I
just
don't have it
ignore-
on my shoes. I don't know, something like that.
I used to think in 2016 that the things that I saw that were happening with the DNC, that people that I live around, you know, like I thought if they just were exposed to it and they knew the information, that they would reflect on, like, because I'm like, okay, well, even if you think
You need to read more Gustave Le Bon, my friend.
Yeah, but this is at the time I had to kind of go through this process because I'm talking about people that I'm friends with, people that I knew, and I was like, well, surely if you saw the way that they were using Bernie as a sheepdog and all of these tricks, that you would reflect on that two things can be true at once. Like, it's just that all beyond the whataboutism, like. Just like, look, and I thought if they had that information that they would reflect, and at a certain point, certain people would, but a lot of people, it didn't matter how much piled up. They're just like, it's all just a lesser of evils thing. They have no perspective. Like, they can't acknowledge one thing while acknowledging another at the same time, and that's just. You know.
There's a really interesting Julian Casablanca interview with the Los Angeles Times music critic. And what he said was about Bernie was really interesting. He was definitely like bummed because I don't know if you remember when they the album that they won the Grammy for that same year, they had Bernie Sanders open up for the Strokes, or they opened up for Bernie. I can't remember which way it was. But you could tell he felt really let down. But he was. There was another part in the interview. It was so good. He was talking about what inspires him to make music and what he likes when it comes to listening to music. And the interviewer was like, "Huh, that's totally different than the reasons I listen to music." And then Julian Casablanca was like, "You might be a sociopath," and then like quickly moved on. It was like the sickest burn.
Dude,
But yeah, I think even if he looks like Brendan Fraser now, I don't know if you've seen Julian Casablanca lately. Even though he looks a little bit like Brendan Fraser, you know, he's got.
I like him. I like his Noam Chomsky interview. That was like from space. You know, that's cool.
It's like the cat keeps being like let out of the bag more and more, like with these interviews that these people are doing, or just them at a podium. So like Obama the other day, just talking about COVID measures and basically being like, we just didn't go extreme enough, was essentially what he was saying.
That was the problem.
You know, yeah, that was the problem. It's just like that was I freaked my brother out. I hadn't talked to my brother in a while, and you know, he lives in Indiana. And he didn't know where I was at with everything, and I just like I was making.
I forgot about that one.
He wasn't sure if I was joking, and I was just like, "Oh no, Fauci!" I was like, "Dude, Fauci got COVID again because he didn't even go by the CDC's recommendations, which is that we're supposed to be at like 9 boosters." And I was like, "He's only done 6. Like, no wonder he keeps getting sick." And so my brother, for a second, oh my god,
I mean, right? I don't know. So, like, that's actually, I don't know if that's a sync talk, but Project 2025. Do you guys want to get into this, like, at all? I think it's kind of an interesting, esoteric agenda. And David, I know you've been thinking about it because, you know, it now integrates. It's like basically you've got the projection of the Heritage Foundation, which I think people are taking that way too seriously. Like a bunch of old people.
Obama incorporated parts of Heritage Foundation stuff into his Obamacare as a way to kind of bridge the divide.
Yeah, that was his whole thing. Was like, we're making inroads and bridging. Yeah, like here, give you scratch your back, you know, tit for tat kind of thing.
But also they're
go ahead. Sorry.
No, they're just old people. That's all I was gonna say. They're just old people. Like the idea that they run anything, like Peter Thiel is gonna be making way more decisions without the plans that were written down 20 years ago by the Heritage Foundation. They're not as relevant as people pretend.
I don't see it as that much different from Klaus Schwab's The Great Reset. Because like if you look at Klaus Schwab's The Great Reset and you're looking closely, you can see that a lot of the things that the quote unquote conspiracy theorists are saying is outright admitted by the man himself in that thesis. Like even if you say The Great Reset, some people think it's a conspiracy term. No, he coined it. He's one of the richest, most influential people in the world who started the World Economic Forum. He's at the head of it. He dresses like Osho did. You know, like when he was all from like a Star Trek character from the future or whatever. But the Great Reset itself is kind of like a wish list statement on the kind of the future that they would like to have and to see. And so it's this kind of tug of war from really rich people just saying what it is that they want. I mean, the Heritage Foundation has put out things like what since the 1980s? Is that
exactly.
correct? Like, Yeah, so
If we got a pick though, the Great Reset does come with snacks, and I haven't heard any promise
bug
of
snacks.
I mean, whatever. You've never had a Cool Ranch crickets before? That's on you.
What did Teal say? Crypto is anarchy, AI is communism. Is that his thing? Peter Teal, I think that's it.
What's corporatism then?
You're not talking about the singer of Typo Negative, are you?
No, but that'd be cool. I wish he was. I mean, he could have been. He could have been somebody.
What is it, Peter Steele?
Peter Thiel's like totally, I think, an important. I mean, it's a very. This is the person that no one's listening to who's running things now, and he really backed the right horses to make that happen. And it's crazy that people are so worried about ideas that are so old. But some of the things the Heritage Foundation did say that are true, like privatization. Well, cryptocurrency to replace banking Wall Street cartels is a sort of privatization. And I think that's interesting, right? We're looking towards privatization as a solution, but not the corporatist privatization that we think we are.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could definitely say that the Bitcoin and crypto has facilitated, like, it was what the dark web needed to really.
It's the new economy. It's crazy to think that a $20 hamburger is a 20-cent hamburger. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so that's where we're at. But that also means that Bitcoin is also a it's only as corporatist as the corporations that invested in it into the future. So there's some major key players like that, but also individuals. Anyone could have been part of that. It's not necessarily statist.
Right. Left-wing media has been using Project 2025 the same way that they used Donald Trump as a Pied Piper candidate, as outlined by John Podesta in his group email to the DNC in 2016 for Hillary's campaign. And so they want to have something that's as extreme as possible to point to and say, this is what they want. And so it's almost like, feels like, it's like, did this even, like, where did this really come from? Like, because it's the way that it's being used leaves it feeling really suspect, because it's certainly not Agenda 21. Like, I mean, Agenda 20, like, it sounds like Agenda 21 when you say it, but Agenda 21 was world leaders and top world scientists, like, giving from a place of fear of what was going to happen in the future in terms of their conceptions around global warming and this and that, how best to deal with it. But when you look at the details, it's freaking terrifying. But luckily, like, if you look at what was predicted, or it's not just predicted, it's what they wanted for the future. Like, even what they say in Agenda 21, which was written in 1994 or something, when they talk about up to 2012, what the plans for the United States were, like, those weren't implemented, but there was movements towards it, even on local levels. And those people, all those bureaucrats that get things on their desk, they don't need to know where this ultimately came from, even though it's an extension of Gorbachev and all these, you know, super powerful people that were just kind of like saying, this is what we want. You know.
But do you like omelets?
Well, I was born a scrambling man, actually.
I mean, yeah. you got to crack a couple eggs if you got to break a few eggs if you like omelets.
Lord, I was born a scrambling man, trying to make an omelet, and I'm doing the best I can.
I feel like
time to put cheese in. I hope you'll understand that I was born a scrambling man.
I feel like they do complement each other rather well, though. Agenda 21, because you had Rockefeller lead partnership corporations that were these state-created corporations by, like, the hegemonies of these countries created the banking, oil cartels that run everything, right? And so those are the companies that end up today saying, we're going to run the new economic layer, whatever this new crypto blockchain layer is that we're starting to see emerge, like UBS token, or, you know, whatever the new financial tokens that are starting to see. So in a lot of ways, it's moving away from states having power towards corporations having equal power with states and not having to bring their money directly through states. Right. And I think that's also, if you dismantle the United States into a global economic paradigm, then that's basically the way to do it. Right. So it's not that different. Agenda 21 folding the United States into a world government, because it's allowing American corporations to thrive, which is ironic because everyone's looking at Project 2025 as being this, you know, American thing, but I don't see how that's really going to help the United States in the long run.
But wasn't it Bill Clinton that moved a lot of jobs overseas? And even though now they're saying, when they're looking at venture capitalists like JD Vance or something, that's what Walz is trying to threaten then that this is the direction that's going to go, when it's like, didn't that come from the left in the first place? Like, not entirely, but I don't know. It's
Yeah,
weird.
that's what seems kind of funny to me. Is it seems like very leftist planning, and I wish people thought this way. It just Trump's plans are so Marxist, right? Like that's the weirdest thing. The guy keeps calling Kamala Marxist, but everything he's doing is like a social.
I didn't buy that Marxist thing until she said about putting the price caps for the stores. So like that's like you got to go to manufacturers. Like if you're going to go to that level, like I mean, if you do that and they have overhead, that can kill small businesses, while the big corporate businesses can actually be fine. Like that's
small businesses like McDonald's.
No,
is it true that there's something in Project 2025 about fixing the ice cream machines?
I saw
Not happening.
I was really hoping that Trump would do that when he went in.
That doesn't happen
he
until
just fix all the
singularity. That's 2045 singularity kind of talk.
Like flurries is what you're talking about?
Yeah, their ice cream machines are always breaking. And so what was funny in that stint in the Pennsylvania McDonald's, I didn't see one ice cream given out. So I think the machine may have been...
that he did that commercial with Grimace in the 90s or maybe early 2000s, 2002 or something. And Grimace, who Grimace was a villain, just like the Hamburglar, who would steal milkshakes instead of hamburgers. Like that was his whole deal. Was he was a milkshake thief.
I did this whole series of AI art with Robert Blake as the burglar. That's really terrifying to get Lynchian. It's on my digital chutney 420 account, but it's I want to say something real quick because it keeps on coming up. But a movie of David Lynch's that I've never seen is that G-rated one, Straight Stories, and it keeps on coming up. And that's supposedly one of his like best stories, and it's about bridging, traveling across the country, and this kind of synchronistic way of just running into people and things just kind of work out, which it reminded me a lot of my experience in the Bush-Obama election time when I was working as a door knocker, setting estimates for a windows and siding company.
You were smashing people's windows and then selling them?
No, I was knocking on doors like as a salesman, and it was basically aversion therapy after coming out of a period of agoraphobia. But
that's not where the money
worked.
Unless you break the windows first and say, "Hey, I couldn't help but notice."
But no, coming as like a weirdo anarchist, like walking around all these neighborhoods and Highlands Ranch and all these cul-de-sacs and stuff, I was really surprised how many people like invited me in for dinner, and it didn't matter if they had a Bush sign or whatever, they gave me water. I also had people pull guns on me, but yeah, it's like pretty good cross section between like Colorado Springs and Fort Collins and Boulder, and that I in the 4.5 years that I ended up working there. But it's like you learn that people are largely okay, but it's this divisive kind of class,
Drilling for oil is a Marxist thing because it's resource acquisition for state capitalism.
Right, but did the people
have the means of
means of production?
Right. What do you think that Trump meant when he said grab them by their means of reproduction? Think about it. Like it's clearly
grab them by the means.
Like,
drill, baby, drill.
It's the most clearly Leninist production. All right. Also, Tuesday is a movie where a bird tells Julia Dreyfus she has to say goodbye to her daughter who's dying of cancer. Really sad movie. I recommend.
Aww.
Did you know that Keanu Reeves is in Ancient Aliens Apocalypse Season 2? What's up with that? Super
Isn't
random.
Graham Hancock on Joe Rogan like now?
Is that happening right now? Is that what's going on? I don't know. I was more interested that Keanu Reeves decided to stop by just randomly. Just be like, yeah, Ancient Aliens. Yeah, I have that feeling too. Things must go back thousands of years. I don't know.
He's notorious for having bullshit articles written about him. You know.
Yeah,
Like,
he's like
they'll be like, oh, Keanu
him
Reeves.
and Jared Leto.
Well, yeah, but like he was on the show. I'm just saying, like he seems to
But
be.
Jared Leto, what is the deal, man? I really like. I so
Holy
want
crap,
to
man.
like the 30 Seconds to Mars, or like I want to like his band, but it's so.
He's
bad.
dressing like Osho. Like some of his latest things, he's got. Yeah, it's
It
like
reminds me of Ian, and that's okay. You know.
he lives
like
at
Island with,
Lookout
like, a
Mountain.
harem?
He lives on Lookout Mountain. That used to be like the MK Ultra. Like it was where they developed all the film. He bought that Lookout Mountain. That's his place in L.A. I actually saw him riding around on a bike last time I was in.
He's not as cool
LA.
as Ian. We just need more Ian, less Leto. That's how I feel. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same thing. You're getting your money's worth. You're getting way more than your money's worth with an Ian. More than you're gonna get with a Leto. That's all I'm saying. Sparks fury by insulting Zelensky. That was kind of cool.
Well, it's the Dancing with the Stars thing or something. He didn't like his
What did he
dance.
do? Sparked outrage in Ukraine following comments made by recent concert in Serbia. 52-year-old. He's 52. Huh.
Yeah. He's took the
said-
substance, so it's not really him. But yeah.
Right.
Is this
Desire
going to
to
be like a
party-
Dennis Rodman sort of scenario?
Oh, he expressed his desire to party in Russia and Ukraine once all these problems were finished, referring to the ongoing war. Okay, well,
Oh,
good for
that's
him.
the controversy.
Okay.
That's the good. Yeah, all right, good
And
for him.
nothing
Again,
further?
sounds
But,
just like
Leto's
Ian
going to be our
me.
Rodman for Russia, is what it seems like.
Maybe
All
they
right.
want to start a fight club.
What about this one? This one's good. So, celebrities unwittingly entangled in Moldovan political disinformation campaign, including, but
Rainn
not limited
Wilson?
to, Brian Baumgartner and Ryan Wilson, who were celebrities paid, like Brian Baumgartner from The Office, were paid
Yeah.
to unknowingly participate in this disinformation campaign aimed at overthrowing the Moldova's president, Maya Sandu, and influencing
Classic
EU
Kevin.
referendum. Classic.
Wild.
So basically, they were drawn into this Russian interference campaigns, aligned with those long-standing concerns about Russia's meddling in Moldova's affairs, digital manipulation. I mean, yeah, I like this. I think this is pretty exciting.
Does it say
stuff.
specifically what it was? There's this podcast that Rainn Wilson does called Radio Rental, which
Yeah.
is a term for someone if they go nutty, if they go radio rental, like you've lost your mind. But
He
he
also
has
does
this.
a whole thing on like Jainism, or was it? He's a Baha'i, right? That's what it is.
Is he a member of the Baha'i faith?
Yeah, yeah. Right, well,
Ooh, there's those who argue that Baha'i is like behind so much of like the
yeah.
ESG, like social.
I watch
government.
his.
Well,
I watch all of these. I watch
our
all
friend
the
in
Baha'i blog
Sync-
casts.
Our friend in Sync, his dad is in the Baha'i. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about?
Baha'i is huge. Yeah.
Like
What the
our
hell is
Sync book
Baha'i?
friend
Is
that
this
did.
This
Uh,
is West Coast nonsense.
No,
Baha'i was created by Phoebe Hearst. Well, okay, not created by Phoebe Hearst. Baha'i was popularized by William Randolph Hearst's mother, Phoebe Hearst, after she discovered the religion, which is so Baha'i is a guy from Iran. He's really from like modern day Israel, but he is from Iran, and then he went on this pilgrimage and he united all these religions and sacred geometry. He's very much a Joseph Smith for Persian, Jewish, Arabic fusion. And there's a whole thing where they have to unite all the world's religions together. All religions are part of Baha'i. Phoebe Hearst then went and spread this to Britain, where it became very influential with the intellectual elite, and also with, you know, William Randolph Hearst. William Randolph Hearst was basically Baha'i, whether or not he completely admitted it.
and they're centered in Haifa.
Yeah, and they also force you to, not force you, but they encourage you to do a Mecca pilgrimage, but to Israel, right? Because Israel's the center of the religion. They also have all their temples built around the number 8, and they're super against homosexuality, which is kind of interesting because, like, they're supposed to be this super tolerant religion. Not that that's a big deal, but it's like, wow, you guys actually are kind of conservative in that way. And the UN will have Baha'i interact with different, like, if an African tribe is fighting with another African tribe, or if there's different, if there's Muslims and there's Jews, or there's 2 different kinds of Christians, they bring in Baha'i, like the Jedi, and they have them kind of mingle and interact with them. And so, yeah, some people say that they're great. I I have no problem with Baha'i. I don't know.
Well,
I think Phoebe Hearst is interesting. It's a weird thing, right?
There's under the guise of phenomenon. So if any group has a certain
Very
amount
nice car, dude. He
of
says.
integrity or association of integrity in people's minds, then you have the tendency for it to be used in the name for this end. We're doing it, like happens all the time. That's the Illuminati in the original Bavarian Illuminati when they got popped. Like that's what you see is that kind of infiltration phenomenon, you know. So
Right.
I don't really know, like, its implementation, if it's really true to what Baha'i ultimately stood for initially. I don't know.
I do
They also
like
have their
that
own
their
calendar,
main
their
guy's
books.
name is Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The Almighty Bob.
Who's the other Bob? What's that nutty? Oh shoot. The
Bob and Neil? Sorry.
no, there's another Bob who
No,
there's
Bob.
a connection with I can see the image of their thing. They were oh gosh.
Oh, Bob Dobbs?
Yeah, Bob Dobbs.
Yeah,
Right.
Subgenius.
Yeah, the Church of the Subgenius.
Yeah, yeah. Those
Pretty
are crazy
slack.
POs, too.
Yeah.
There it is. So Bob is like the first prophet, but that's
Oh.
also of the whole Bobby faith, right? So Ali Muhammad, the Bob, right? But then that's before Baha'i or Bahu Allah, right? Baha Ullah, right? Who is
That's Jared Leto.
Does
Ching
look like
Chang
Leto.
Walla Walla Bing Bang.
In 1863, started his kind of version of his like Bob derivative faith, right? And so yeah, it's interesting because it's a pretty intellectual religion, and it was very popular with the Brits. So there's that. Also, their star symbol, right? Like their whole
Is it
thing.
8?
Yeah, right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Nine.
Oh, is it
Is
9?
It's a 9.
Yeah,
point
the
star,
9,
bro.
the Ennead.
Right.
Which is-
There's a
Well,
connection
it's not
between
actually, yeah.
the
That's
Ennead folks and Hodorowski too.
This is all new to me, and I'm looking at the Baha'i faith, and they don't have many prohibitions, at least compared to Catholicism that I'm used to.
The Enneagram stuff, yeah.
But one of the prohibitions that they do have is participation in partisan politics, which does seem like the exact opposite thing that Rainn Wilson has come to be known for.
I think that
Mhm.
they're I don't know exactly how the Baha'i do the politics thing because they totally interact with inter-government affairs. So there must be some kind of thing that's like not about being a politician, but you're also able to be an advisor for politicians or
Right.
you know.
So I've wondered to myself quite a bit, actually, what the connections exist between Lucis Trust and Baha'i as it relates to like things like the UN.
Which
and
would
stuff.
explain, by the way, why they would want to have some objection, some political abstain from some political acts, right?
Mhm.
Like if they're actually doing that much, then they would have to say, well, then we aren't going to vote because we're like actually manipulating elections or something like that, right?
Mm. Wow. Yeah, dude, I had something happen to me the other day at the farmer's market where I was going off about that dude who testified years ago, who helped a governor get elected, and he had designed the program to manipulate the election results. And he told the judge, while this guy's under oath, and the judge asked him, do you think you could do this in a presidential election? And the guy was like, I see no reason why not. And he was like, how would you ever know? And he said, well, it's almost impossible to know for sure. But one of the indicators, one of the red flags that could be going on is if the election is neck and neck. So if he's talking like it's 1 to 2 to 3 points, that should be a cause for concern and then he goes on to explain it. And I was saying this to somebody, and this dude walking by like overheard the last part of what I was saying. He was like, dude, totally. So this guy worked in internet security, and I can't do any of it justice, but he went off for like 20 minutes, and he was so articulate and able to like communicate really complex security stuff, like for a layman. Like you could tell it's like part of his job is like, it's not just doing it, it's how do you explain to somebody how this works. And he was basically saying how vulnerable the whole setup that we have in the United States is with that. And then I brought up Shadow App and Pete Buttigieg on like after Groundhog's Day, that he was basically a groundhog who saw his own shadow. And that like basically because it was like his campaign, like he was way behind. This was Iowa. Bernie won all 3 caucus states, first candidate in history to ever do that. And they had Bernie way behind. And Pete Buttigieg like jumped forward, and it was like, dude, Pete Buttigieg was not polling well. Why is he in the lead? Like, what is going on? And it turned out his campaign manager's wife was all tied up with this app that they decided they would tally, and then Bernie's own people had been keeping track of the numbers themselves, and they called it out, and they're like, hey, this is baloney. Bernie's in the lead. And then they changed the election results after they were announced in the primaries. And then they said right after that, even though they changed it, they said, new rule that people's campaign teams can no longer keep track of this independently. So instead of them being like, oh, shoot, we made a mistake, we need to, they were just like, you can't do that anymore. And we'll change the results because you caught us. So
don't correct the teacher.
Yeah. And then that was one of the things that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was basically like, we are in our legal right to do this because we are not a government affiliated thing. We can, they have every right to rig the primary. So anyway, yeah. Going on. But yeah.
The Baha'i aren't supposed to interfere with politics, mainly because Kahar was becoming a state. There was the Iranian Revolution 3 times now. And the founding of the State of Israel has always been associated with Baha'i. Because Baha'i
right. Well, check that out too. That was an election where somebody won. 3 points ahead was Hamas. Palestine has only had one election in their history, and it was in 2006. And Hamas won by 3 freaking points. Which, if you listen to this guy, it doesn't prove it, but it is a red flag. It was a super close election, and they're like, "Okay, no, we're good. You guys have your leadership. It's never mind that
And yeah, I think that Iran is the next big one because people think of Israel as being a Jewish state, and I'm not saying it's not got Jewish people living in Israel, but there are a lot of atheists in Israel. There's a lot of people that aren't identifying as religious.
There's a lot
Jews.
of Palestinians in Israel, including in the courts, including in the Israeli courts. They have Palestinians, so whatever.
Yeah, and there's a lot of Christian Palestinians, but there's also a lot of Baha'i Jews or Israelis, right? There's Baha'i Israelis that are not necessarily. I mean, you can be both religions, but a lot of them are not members necessarily. I mean, there are people in government that are in Israel that aren't part of the Jewish religion and are part of the Baha'i religion. So it's going against that idea of being a conscientious objector politically. But I mean, that's cool. The main thing I find interesting about that is this Iran issue, because that's their main. The idea of being an Iranian Baha'i state that's tolerant to a limit, right? Because they're not that tolerant. Remember. They still have their own rules.
Sure.
I don't know, but like Rainn Wilson seems cool, right?
Yeah, I mean they have the mandatory hijabs and there's places where you can go that don't have all of those rules, and I imagine it's quite a relief for those people when they find themselves there, within their own place. But yeah, what are we looking at? What is this? Is this Baha'i symbolism?
No, this is the Bureau for Intelligence and the Security of State for Iran, for the Imperial State of Iran.
Look at you. Yeah.
Dissolved in 79. Pretty cray.
Oh, okay. Far out.
Yeah. I don't know. Also, you brought up the Enneagram. We could bring up the Enneagram because that's, I think, also interesting.
It's Egyptian.
Gurdjieff's connection in the 9 points.
Is that an actual? So, okay, I have a question about this. Is it? So, I know that Gurdjieff used this as a tool. Is there a basis for this actually existing from Egypt, or is he just making that claim, or did he not make that claim and I misunderstood it? I don't know. I guess I should just read the Wikipedia page. But.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we go to Evagrius Ponticus, a Christian mystic who was using it in the 4th century in Egypt. That's the official story. So.
Okay. Oh, and there's no there. Yeah, okay. So that's like cited source. This is this connection because it's supposed to be the deities correspond to those points in that geometry, right?
Wiki wouldn't lie to us.
Right? They love us, right? A Christian mystic, Evagrius, identified 8 deadly thoughts plus logismoi, plus a overarching thought he called love of self. Evagrius wrote that the first thought of all is that love of self. After this comes the 8. In addition to identifying 8 deadly thoughts, Evagrius also identified 8 remedies to these thoughts. Gurdjieff is credited with first using the word Enneagram and is the only known source for the geometric figure.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's what I was curious about. Yeah.
He did not develop the 9 personality types associated with the Enneagram personality. Instead, Gurdjieff used the Enneagram figure for various other purposes. All right.
Sacred dances.
You gotta imagine that
Gurdjieff movement.
I can't imagine that he's the first one to do this, though, right? Like, because that's the point. Geometric patterns like this were very common.
In Holy Mountain, that's the necklace that you see Hodorowski with. It's the Enneagram
Right, but
once-
in the Holy Mountain, they've incorporated just about every avenue of occultism into one giant, like, or
It's
Mhm.
Carlos Castaneda the movie, right?
Yeah.
But you're right; these are the elites that basically the Illuminati who are collected in the film, and then they all throw their money into the fire, right? And that one guy resists. That's like one of the funniest scenes in the movie.
Yeah, they're planetary archetypes, I think, as far as the movie. I don't think the movie like is organized necessarily in the same Ennead thing because it's planets, the way it goes through the different gods.
Those Gurdjieff movements too make me think of the Castaneda movements. What are they called? Like tensegrity. Have you heard of these magical passes?
Yeah,
the OA?
tensegrity. Mm-hmm.
Wait, what?
Have you heard of this before? Tensegrity and magical passes of Carlos Castaneda, which was what inspired that OA TV show. Because that's also technically another one of these sort of Gurdjieff movements where it's like a sacred dance where you're able to channel energy somehow.
Or balance both sides of your brain and be in your body, so you're not totally just in your mind. It's like trying to develop that connection between remaining. Yeah, exactly.
Someone needs to blend that with jazzercise and have like a new movement. Tensegrity meets jazzercise.
Totally. Yeah.
I want to blend Karpman's triangle with the Tinkerbell effect. Do you guys have any idea what I'm talking about?
So my mind just sounds cool.
So Karpman's triangle, I think it's with a K, Karpman. It's you have the oppressed, the oppressor, and basically the ally, right? So yeah, victim, rescuer, persecutor, and then basically this is something that could be used either for kind of like a psychoanalytic reflection upon people's own tendencies, kind of like R.D. Lang's knots, where you can see these loops that we get into, where in society, the way things are set up, you kind of have to take one of these positions. You'll notice this with every single culture war issue, as it kind of puts pressure on anybody to take one of these positions, right? So it's like, and people can oscillate, like you're not stuck to one necessarily, but then it's also I mean, this is kind of used for kind of a Bernaysian template to I believe is very much just like a manipulation tool that it's possible to get out of, and so for R.D. Lang, he was got into Zen with knots, where he was just to see the thing itself, to see the tendency to just go into these positions is itself liberating from it on some level, dimensionally, there you go. There's an R.D. Lang knot. Yeah.
Right. I am not entitled to what I have, therefore everything I have is stolen because I'm not entitled to it because I've stolen it, therefore.
Yeah, there's all these examples, and they're on their own terms. They're unreconcilable. So we've talked about this before, but they were at the time they were using this kind of thing for war games, because if you want to avoid nuclear catastrophe when you're dealing with communications with people who are also superpower people, you want to have intelligent communication so that you don't end up in one of these unreconcilable knots, which can lead to total breakdown. So yeah, it's interesting. But then he applied it to the family unit. So he would look at husbands and wives and parents with their kids and just recognize these loops that they would get into. But you can find this triangle in everything, there's almost no way to escape it on its own terms.
So you want to make a triangle loop, or what are you trying to do? How do you want to combine the two ideas?
Oh, so the Tinkerbell effect is the idea. So, and this might actually connect to J.D. Salinger, his sequel to Catcher in the Rye, called The Last and Best of the Peter Pans. But basically, if you ever go to see Peter Pan as a play anywhere, when Tinkerbell is dying, the audience will be asked to clap their hands in the same way. You need some actual action to assert the belief, to make the belief real.
I believe.
Yeah, so I believe, and then Tinkerbell comes back to life. But this has examples where
we care.
Yeah, so you'll see, if you look into the Tinkerbell effect, there's places where it has an opposite effect, kind of, or at least it's not a positive effect, because if people keep repeating something again and again and again, and then at some point it ceases to be true, then they can actually that becomes a. Am I hearing my own voice as I speak? Is there a echo.
That
You guys,
There's a look.
I'm gonna mute
No, I
Zach for a
can't.
minute.
No,
It's all Zach's fault. Shame on you,
kind
Zach.
of
Shame.
tripping me out while I'm talking. I'm like, okay, he's figuring it out. Okay. But yeah, so the basically like they use the example of seatbelts, like even if you just look at like the Wikipedia page for it, where they're basically like, you know, if you keep repeating that something is you repeat your belief again and again and again, and then when at a certain point it could cease to be true, you know, you've gotten yourself in the mode of your repeating this. So say you wanted to say that that the left is the party of the working class, which was true at one time, one could argue. And then at a certain point, they cease to be. If there's like, you know, you have corporate capture and all of these issues come up and then ceases to be. The very fact that they've gotten in the mode of repeating it, become like, it's like, you don't want to underestimate the power of denial. And so the Tinkerbell effect can work that way. So I would argue you could apply the Tinkerbell effect to Karpman's triangle, because just by the action of whatever it is, it can even become kind of like ritualistic, that you keep repeating something and emphasizing something that at a certain point, it may have been true at one time, but at a certain point, as it ceases to be true, you have that layering. And so people come against the cognitive dissonance of, you know, that comes with something shifting. Yeah.
I got an alternate theory on Tinkerbell here too, just because
Sure.
in Return to Neverland, which is a wild, dark, very dark movie about World War II and orphan trains, but in that movie, Jane refuses to believe in Tinkerbell, and they act like it's killing Tinkerbell. But there's one specific scene when Tinkerbell is pretty much dead, you assume she is, and Jane cries, and her crying and the tears hitting the ground, this brings Tinkerbell back to life. So there's,
I thought only gypsy tears worked for that. Is she a gypsy?
well, maybe, but the alternate theory here is that Tinkerbell actually doesn't survive off of belief, but off of human suffering, because every time Tinkerbell has a chance, she tries to kill Wendy.
Oh, whoa! You're right.
Every
Trying to kill Julia Roberts.
Uh-oh, you know what that means.
I feel like for $20 we needed like.
Well, I thought this was the Sam Newsman intro.
No, that'd be cool. Sam, if you're around, I don't know, Sam, if you're here, you can totally jump in.
I was
It could have been the box saga, but. Thank you, Jeremy.
All things being equal, I prefer Jennifer Connelly over Box Saga any day.
Yeah, well, I mean,
any day. What about? Oh, never mind.
Right? Seriously, I don't know.
Any day.
I prefer the 80s. Wait, but there was more. Was there more? I cut off your whole point.
What, me?
No, Thomas, because Thomas brought
No,
up.
I finished the Tinkerbell. She survives off of human suffering, not from human belief. That's just part of her bag.
Yeah.
Well, is our belief suffering? See, that's the thing, because your belief is never going to be the same as like an ultimate knowing, right? Like that's the thing about a belief system, that it's a fragile thing ultimately. Even if you're correct, it's still a representation of the thing and not the thing in itself. Oh,
Pan's Labyrinth, though. Because, like, really, Tinkerbell is Pan in some way. They're the same thing.
Well, she had her Tinkerbell character. That's the first weird thing to appear in, like, one of the first scenes of that movie, right? Is when there's that bug, and that bug is a fairy, and the fairy leads her into the whole deal. Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely the idea that Tinkerbell is super beautiful. I think they've made a few efforts to show that she's actually, like, psychotic and terrifying, right? I mean, that's.
But Pan's Peter don't care.
Pan's Labyrinth syncs with Piper at the Gates of Dawn completely, but you got to throw in Pink Floyd's Country Song first. There's a whole. I have that up on the website. I haven't uploaded that one to Twitter. I probably should.
What do you think about that? I mean, the bug like album cover, right, for Gates of Dawn. It looks like you're like an insect.
Sure, a fly's eyes.
It never even occurred to me that the whole thing starts with an insect and it looks like an insect's vision. Yeah, that's a new one. Okay.
Nice.
That's pretty good.
All right.
Didn't someone say? Didn't we say Revolver earlier? Was that another? Was it
a
Guy Ritchie movie?
Guy Ritchie
The
Guy Ritchie.
Beatles revolver. That also is a bug
I
related.
played Beatles Revolver with Guy Ritchie's Revolver, and don't do it. It's pointless. There's no magic.
Oh, okay.
No magic there. You don't believe?
Metamorphosis.
So it's like playing American Beauty from the Grateful Dead with the film American Beauty. Like I really wanted that to work, but there was no magic.
So you did believe, but it still didn't work.
Are you
I
a believer?
believe until I get something that I can't deny. If there's something to it, there's something to it. There's a lot of sync films that I really wanted to work or felt like they should work, and they just don't. It's like Bjork's Vespertine with Amelie. It feels like it should work, but it just doesn't.
All right, like what movie is the Serbian film synchronized with Yesterday and Today? Like, I don't know. I've always wondered.
It's actually Solo. No, I'm just kidding.
There's got to be something dark. I always felt
Saw?
because it seems pretty clear that there's more to this one than meets the eye, or maybe the eye is exactly like this is the one you're supposed to judge by.
This is one of the go-tos for people that want to talk about the dark.
There's a double meaning there too. It's if it was Saw in there because it's Yesterday and Today, and the difference is like what you see, what you saw. Yeah.
You take
especially with the Butcher cover there.
Moody Blues, the Seesaw song. Okay, never mind. That's stupid. Why is the Seesaw?
We did Kerchief. I don't know. Okay, how about there was something either Alf or was it Alf or no?
I love Alf.
We could do. There was something.
Haitians love Alf.
Maybe it was Pinocchio. I wanted to. Okay, before we do that, just because we talked about Pan's Labyrinth for a second, I was thinking like. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. At this point, I feel like you all have seen it, right?
Oh yeah, it's Kubrickian.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably like one of the best.
Kubrick's fixation on Pinocchio. He actually brought it to life.
I think
he's looking more and more like Pat.
Dude, he's so freaking awesome, dude. Have you ever seen? He's
great.
Like his man cave place. It's incredible. You got to look at like his hangout spot, man.
Is that where he films some little things? It's like his just like weird room.
It's modeled after this place in England that was built by this Freemason that was filled up. He even the paint that he chose for it is the same exact color paint. He I forget what that place is called.
I feel like this is one of the most. This is like my favorite Del Toro movie. It beats like even Hellboy and Pan's Labyrinth. And it's about so many things, but it's also about, like you said, it's very Kubrickian, but it's also about fascism, how he's trying to build up this boy who is supposed to be made a bundle of sticks the same way that the fasces is bundled up on the wall.
Sure.
Be more like that symbol on the wall. I mean, there's just so many layers to this one.
But the other bundle of sticks, that's
it's creepy. The angel is so creepy. The blue fairy angel is like freaky out.
Right. Again, with the whole fairies are dark and scary, and this.
Well, you opened the door to Alf, and I think the last time we talked about Alf, you brought up one of the really weirdest episodes, and I started doing just some random Alf watching, and I came up with a crazy Alf episode that I didn't remember. I'm sure I saw it as a kid, but I didn't remember any of this aspect of it. But it's Alf's Special Christmas, which was the midway through season 2, where Alf contemplates ending his own life and jumping off of a bridge because he's so overcome with grief that he meets this girl Tiffany that has leukemia, and he doesn't understand like how this can be. I don't know. I just thought that was
that one of the episodes that was written by the guy that did Permanent Midnight's about, or no?
Maybe that wasn't the guy.
He didn't do many. I don't know how many he did, but I
think he did the majority of them actually.
I don't know if he did that because there's like 4 seasons. I just got like the deluxe DVD set, which has like 28 DVDs. Like, how do you have 28 DVDs about Alf? That's like so much.
That's amazing.
Alf. But Brittany got me this, and you guys see this. This is the Alf Alien Life Form Ultimate Action Figure, which comes with fabric shirt, cat sandwich, soda can, sunglasses, ham radio, popcorn bowl, bag of slime balls, picture frame, and interchangeable hands. And you can even see, just in case you thought I was not, serious there, but here it is. There's the actual, there it is. There's all the pieces.
I wish who's that guy McFarlane that did the Image comics? what's his name? Is it Todd McFarlane?
Todd McFarlane, yeah, he did Spawn, and
he should do Alf, dude. He should do a dark, twisted Alf, dude. That would be so cool.
Is there a Willie Tanner action figure that comes with a crack pipe? That's all I really want to know.
There should be.
So Aleph is the fool, right?
Yeah.
And so like Alf is kind of like a stand-in for like the family dog.
I'm obsessed, dude. We've talked about this a lot on the show, but yeah, Alf,
The Aleph and the fool and the
challenges the king. He's the ultimate variable to come in that should turn everything on his head, but it speaks to the times that they have to hide him in the garage and they can't let him. Yeah, they have to hide him from the government because they would freaking kill him, even though he should be invited to have the king kill himself in front of Alf, and Alf should be able to marry the king's daughter and continue. You know, he's
which is totally like what the show's about, because the daughter is like Princess Padme is, you know, I mean, come on, it's all you're the one that's out of this world, sweet baby. It's like pretty
and the whole out of this world, right? Because isn't the fool in the Golden Bough supposed to be an outsider? And how much more of an outsider can you be than
an alien?
Yeah, it's the basis of the whole thing. Yeah, can we do like a comic with that?
Well, you need what you need. I think Will Morgan is like either missing because the Freemasons have him, or he's in the audience right now, and he should probably get Frank Zero. And they should do a review of this, because there's space cats, and there's a very Huttese kind of the idea that they destroy their planet. At the beginning of the show, Melmac is nuked by their lack of respect for nature. They live in this very high-tech, high 80s cyberpunk, atomopunk society, and they destroy it, right? And so that's kind of the thing about the show, that there already is a dark version.
What's his actual name? What's Alf's actual name? I forget.
Alien life form.
Yeah, alien life form is
name. It's fucking. His freaking.
He has a name.
Is it not Melmac?
What is it?
Or Gordon Shumway, you mean? Gordon.
Yeah, thank you.
He definitely shops at Dan Flash's.
Yeah.
They're so complex. Like, that's why it's so expensive. You know.
I mean, he's from the future. He's basically like a Back to the Future kind of thing, but he's from a future that's destroyed itself. So he's gone back in time, and he's not really trying to stop us from reaching the same point where we destroy ourselves. Because it's like the late 80s.
It totally connects to Full Metal Jacket because of Aleister Crowley. So my prophet is a fool with his 111. The reason why in the Book of the Law that it says that is because if you spell out Aleph, which is 1 in Gematria, right? It's the first Hebrew letter. But if you spell it out, Aleph, Lam, and Pei, phonetically, it gives you 111. And so like when you're watching like Full Metal Jacket and you have Matthew Modine's character is Private Joker, it's a private joke, but he's basically in a sense playing the fool. So there's like that whole thing that's complicated, but yeah, I mean to spell the whole thing out, but yeah. Full Metal Jacket, one could argue, like even just the name as it relates to that particular bullet could relate to the Klippo, you know, especially with like the poster that says
the
in
shells,
Vietnam,
the shells of consciousness, or if our consciousness is reduced to bullets, what that means for like the Full Metal Jacket, the shells of the clephotic element of
Well, yeah, because we have seen the enemy and it is us, so it speaks to the shadow. And so like that's why you never see the enemy until the very end. It's it's very Jungian, sir, you know. But yeah, it's true.
I don't know, it's interesting to think about like Full Metal Jackets also in terms of like where technology goes right after this, because you have like Ghost in the Shell from Full
I was thinking exactly that, Ghost in the Shell.
Dude.
Yeah, and Ex Machina. But, yeah.
I mean, right? What do you think about that? So the idea that like we can put so much, because gunpowder was originally an alchemical invention trying to invent a immortality elixir to like the secrets of immortal life, right?
So remember, if you start Ex Machina, which also stars Scarlett Johansson, who's in the remake of Ghost in the Shell or live action version or whatever, if you start Ex Machina and Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson at the exact same time, then they'll cut to credits on the exact same frame. And so like the way that those two films Strange Attract is incredible, because this is like basically a mechanical person. This is a manufactured person. Whereas in Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson, we don't really know what she is because it doesn't say, like, is she a demon? Is she an alien? Whatever it is, she's organic, she's physical, and she gets sacrificed at the end, while in Ex Machina, the robot gets set free. So the two films work together with a meta narrative to communicate two sides of the same phenomenon. The way that the unknown, which is the organism, like the depths of the organism, is sacrificed, whereas the manufactured product is placed on a pedestal. So it has to do with our flip of relating to things through superficiality, you know, rather than the thing in itself, as Kant would say.
I'm thinking about that underneath it, with that same triangular lens, with that that dichotomy there, and the idea of you know, a sacrifice or a mitzvah, you know, for when you have a new victim, and it shakes things up, and the chaos within the system, you know, that the whatever the relationship or organism is, how it can be like, oh, it's stagnant, but we've got a new victim, we've got a new you know, scapegoat, or you know.
Totally. I feel like that was such archetype casting to have Scarlett Johansson in Ghost in the Shell and Under the Skin as it relates to Ex Machina. Like, it's kind of a trip.
And her, might as well throw her in there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
There's something to that beyond that. What was the deal with her voice? Is one of the main voices used for AI?
No,
stuff?
they asked her to, and she said no because she thought it would be weird for her friends and family and kids to grow up and like her voice would be the one that ushered in the downfall of humanity, essentially.
Right. She's like,
do you want to be the voice of Skynet? Like,
She's in Lost in Translation as well.
That's true. Yeah, where she says "Hail Hydra" into his ear at the end, like I was saying last week.
Oh, I missed that.
Okay, what about Beetlejuice? Beetlejuice, everyone's seen it, right?
Sure. I also saw the I haven't seen the new one, but I did see Michael Keaton on SNL.
All right, so you haven't seen the new Beetlejuice, but we can. This is the thing that bothers me about the idea of spoilers. It's like it doesn't really. What we're going to talk about, I don't think is a spoiler necessarily.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone else is. All I wanted to say really is that the whole movie is about Jeffrey Jones. Isn't that weird? The new movie is literally
largely centers around Jeffrey Jones.
The entire movie centers around his character. It seems like completely about the guy. So for those of you who don't remember, Jeffrey Jones is the child solicitor. He had child pornography, and he was soliciting a child to wear a cowboy hat for naked pictures or something like that.
Either that, or he really crossed Scientology and they just destroyed his ass. But yeah,
he just has to make movies.
Even though he looks so much like he could play what's his name, L. Ron Hubbard.
I mean, he was in Deadwood. He did all kinds of cool things, and yeah, he could
totally be L. Ron Hubbard.
And he would be great at it. I don't know. So there's a lot going on with that. But the whole movie, they're like, okay, we're not going to have him be in the movie, and I don't even need to tell you about the movie to tell you that the entire time he is like, there's like a shrine to him. Shrine.
But is he in prison?
Where's the scene? No, he's not in prison.
Not in prison.
Yeah, he's like in movies and stuff like that. I can't even find this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I can't even find the scene, but there's a scene where there's kids, like 12 kids, singing in falsetto, castrato, kind of like high-pitched voice, like in church robes, like altar boys. There's 12 altar boys.
Oh, at his funeral.
Singing.
Castratis?
Yeah, which is like, wow.
It's what he would have wanted.
It's what he would have wanted.
Except he wanted one of them to be dressed up like a cowboy and another one like an Indian, and that would have been perfect for him.
What's the deal? What's the deal? Is this somehow like? I mean, for me, I don't know. Like, I feel like it could go either way in a way. Like, because he's bit in half, so you never see his freaking face except in claymation.
Which is cool. They paid somebody
and he's like,
to animate him in effigy.
Coming out of the little hole. Like, how is he speaking? He's got no face. Like, there's no head.
But I think the whole point is that, you're in the movie, but we don't have to pay you because we don't use your actual likeness. So it's
I mean, like, it's apparently one of the rare times where he consented for the actor consented for his not being in a movie and all the usage about him, right?
But is it symbolic that he is dead? You know what I mean? Like, people are dead in Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it's a cremation of care thing. They killed the character, but
death doesn't really mean the end in Beetlejuice.
No, it doesn't. But it doesn't in real life either. It's in terms of cancellation. I mean, we just started this conversation talking about
I want to imagine there's a trilogy. There's going to be a third movie, and it is just all about his exploration through the afterlife. Like
It
he
has
is
to be
the
called
only
Beetlejuice,
character.
Beetlejuice.
Right,
That's what
but
it's
here's my
called.
question. I said this in the text messages about this one because I'm like, well, if he was just a big pile of shit through the whole movie, but it's centered around him, is it still like putting him on a pedestal? Like, what's the deal? Is he on a
He's a
pedestal?
good guy in the movie. At no point are they like, oh, remember when Dad got caught with lewd? You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
don't like go into that
Beetlejuice
because
is
it'll be
a
a
good
little bit
guy.
ham-fisted.
But like,
Writer,
Beetlejuice.
I hardly knew her.
right, but like, how do those people feel about him in the first place, and what do they know? You know, like like I don't know, like. I can't take an ultimate position on that one, just having watched it and been like, well, it doesn't feel like they're kissing his ass. In fact, it feels it more insulting than not. I mean, even to have those kids there singing as you describe, Andreas, like that almost feels like a FU more than a like celebration. But I guess it's a litmus test, isn't it? Because like that's kind of where I went with it. But at the same time, I honestly don't know like the full extent of what they were. But it is a question. What were they thinking? You know what I mean? Like
Winona Ryder is born in Minnesota, for whoever didn't know, or I didn't, so that's funny. But also, she's 52. So if Beetlejuice is still in love with her, she was like a teenager in the original, and that's kind of the whole thing that's kind of weird. Beetlejuice cartoon. I mean, if we all remember, not only is the movie about getting married, the movie Lydia, she's getting married to a demon, and then in the cartoon, she basically is married to the demon. And then in the new movie, like, the marriage is still a thing. Like, obviously, that's going to be something that comes up. So, I don't know how you look at it.
Wait, explain his backstory in the new one, because it wasn't that like, so he was an actual person that was alive and then he died, right? Like he's not just like a demon who's always been in the nether region.
Yeah.
So what happened? Oh yeah, okay. No,
he's
I got
a 15th century cadaver, like, or somebody who's like digging up like bones in Italy or something like that. Yeah.
Totally.
Which I don't know. Like, this is totally chill, I feel like, to say. I'm sorry if it was upset, all of you.
Well, there's a lot of Haitian stuff in that movie too, with all the small heads going around.
Yeah, that's also
voodoo,
like the entire
voodoo is totally connected with Beetlejuice, you know.
But that also seems kind of like idiopolitical too. Like he's in charge of this whole staff that are all like they're shrunken.
Oh right, totally. If Eddie was here, exactly where he'd be going is he'd be giving his rant about Beetlejuice right now, the star, you know.
Well, I feel like that's fair that Bethel Geist and El, El is so
the house of bread, guys.
The house of Elion, the house of God. That seems like that's interesting from even the Jewish and Mormon angle, because like they say that Kolob is. I mean, they don't say exactly where it is, but it makes sense that it would be in Bethel Geist, right? And that's kind of an interesting idea. How do you feel about all that, the star aspect of that?
No, I'm down. I wasn't, I liked it when Eddie would bring that up because it is something to keep track of, especially with like the particulars in that movie that the sandworms are on Saturn. If you know about the sandworms from Frank Herbert, like he's responding to the Bible verse where Yaakov is referred to as a worm by Hashem, which and then Israel by extension is attributed to Yaakov in that way as a worm because a worm is so small and insignificant. So Frank Herbert was like, okay, well, let's go to far into the future. Okay, Israel's a worm. Okay, it's this giant crazy thing that you have to harness to control because it's just like destroying all the efforts of what people are trying to mine. And then they realize that the spice is the worms. And then that's the whole revelation. Like that has implications, I guess is what I'm saying, in the way that Beetlejuice has the sandworms that exist on Saturn. And you get like, there's something there, and it seems actually way deeper than I can probably
we'll have to do, because I did a video recently with Giant, and Giant's been doing a bunch of stuff on Ophiuchus, and I think he was trying not to do spoilers because he knew, like, as he was talking about it, oh boy, I basically can't talk about some of this stuff, not because it's esoteric, not because it's Freemasonic, but because it's a spoiler for the new Beetlejuice movie. And it wasn't supposed to be a spoiler for the new Beetlejuice movie.
At this point,
but like, well, it was just kind of funny because as he's talking about the Azos and he's talking about this serpent, this black and white Ophiuchus serpent that's going through space, right? That's essentially what, I mean, we're looking at, it's the Orion arm reaching out across the highway from the Clown Nebula, from Beetlejuice, from Orion, right? That's right there.
Right, it's at the galactic center is at his foot, right? And then the arrow of Sagittarius is directed at that galactic center, and then what is it? The tail of Scorpio. They're all aimed right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, it seems really interesting that this is exactly what the presentation was on, and all of a sudden the Beetlejuice movie came out. I digress, though. It's interesting that it's about that. It's interesting at all that this is somehow important the astrologer, astronomer, hybrid mix of synchronicity of star. If everything's about the star placement, or at least where we are when we see those things, it might not be that the stars are so important as where we see them, right? Just seeing them where they are matters where we are. So like
Okay, I got a question.
we're
So
here and
you're
we're looking at
admitting the
different.
Jews do worship Saturn.
Well, and does
So,
this mean that Winter River is Palestine? Is that how that works?
well, first of all, interesting. No, Saturn is for the Greeks and the Romans something radically different than it is in traditional Jewish mysticism. Saturn is associated with Shekhinah, and it's a feminine symbol. It became a masculine symbol with the Greeks. And so the whole conversation when people are going over kind of like the Saturn death cult or whatever, it gets a little twisted, because if you look at the progression in occultism of the attributions of Saturn, they've shifted so greatly from culture to culture in their treatment of it. It's not like it's just one thing. And so I think it kind of speaks to the attitudes of the imperialistic like use of the concept or the attributions, just in that nature, like the symbolism of Saturn as it relates to Kronos and Zeus,
Or even just the idea that the other
Jupiter,
planets
Jupiter,
pour,
Saturn,
like
Kronos.
Jupiter and all them pouring out of Saturn, right? So like the maternal stomach pouring out the other gods, right? It's
Right.
the original version.
So yeah, so you people would attribute it like online or whatever. If you look at like websites when they're looking at like the Saturn stuff as it relates to Judaism, they would attribute the cube to Saturn. Whereas like if you're actually doing tefillin, you wrap, this is your Jupiter and your Saturn finger. So like if you make a peace sign, right, it's Jupiter and Saturn together, so it's father and son, right? You're saying it's, and then you're so, and it also has to do with taking over the pantheon, taking over the kingdom, like you conquer, and the cycle of that. But then
two pillars.
But that's nothing to do with Jewish mysticism's treatment of that. So when you actually wrap the tefillin, you're wrapping your Saturn finger in 3 loops and back around and tying it into a shin, which is fine. So like the idea too is that this is you're entwining your own judgment and your severity. It's actually like a humility act, so to speak, that you're putting yourself in a strict. It's kind of like
there's a marriage between mercy and severity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah, totally. Chesed and Gevurah. It's but yeah, no, I mean that whole that's a real complex trip.
If you were born with 6 fingers, does that shift around how you have to approach that?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I don't know how you'd actually go about that. It's a really good question. But what finger would that? What planetary body would that 6 finger? Would how would you determine that? I don't really know.
Well, that would be the 13th zodiac, I assume.
Yeah, right. Ophiuchus.
Yeah, that's my Ophiuchus finger.
Yeah.
You don't want to see what that one does.
No, well, Ophiuchus lands on the ecliptic, and the argument for a sign being a sign as opposed to just a constellation is if it's on the ecliptic. So and you'll find old like natal charts that include Ophiuchus, but it's really difficult to do to divide a circle by 13 because it's not an even number. So like if you're making a natal chart, like how it's
they usually do the rose compass. It's like a 33 thing, so you can divide by 33.
Of course it is.
Yeah,
but it goes in like the petals. Like okay, yeah, right.
Wait. How many points there? What are we looking at? How does this tie back to the Baha'i?
No, it doesn't to the Baha'i. But I mean,
I'm just looking at the number of points.
I would not be surprised if the Baha'i somehow are using this as well. But 33 is easy to do. Like the compass rose.
Yeah.
Compass rose is design. Is it this one?
Oh, I see.
360, but there's a 33.
You could just look up Nicole Kidman at the beginning of Eyes Wide Shut.
It reminds me of the Bota rose that has all the Hebrew alphabet in it, and it's just. But I guess that's 22. But
that's Rosicrucian. You're talking about Foster Case, yeah.
Yeah, the builders of the Addendum uses that same. Yeah. Paul Foster Case.
That's the only secret, not so secret society I've ever been a member of.
Yeah, I enjoyed their the correspondence course with the tarot.
Yeah, I was just with this group of people. They were like all in their 70s and 80s. I was like the only person like not like a full-on elderly person. It was fun. I did that for like a year before I met my rabbi. Yeah. Yeah, they have their little rituals and their whole deal. But I like Paul Fuster Case. He's one of the cool European occultists. I'm down.
Yeah, it's
His take on the Fama and the Confessio is like, if you're going to study like Rosicrucianism, that's where it's at, because he does like he examines all the gematria of that and treats it like you would any biblical text, but it's using Greek gematria. And so he wrote a book called The True and Invisible Rosicrucian Order, which may be hard to get now. I loaned it to a friend and they never gave it back, but I really enjoyed that book. But yeah, those are apparently we wouldn't know what Rosicrucian is today, like generally, if it wasn't for so many people actually thinking that the Fama and the Confessio were actually like maps to a physical treasure, and not just like some metaphysical treasure. They like took it literally, that there is a tomb of this guy Christian Rosencrantz, and you want to, if you find that tomb, it's like El Dorado.
The Sorcerer's Stone, or yeah.
Why is
Saga?
Why is Cronenberg not like more important to everybody? And what is Scanners? Like, how do you feel about Scanners? Because
we don't have Alex on the show to go off about it, but yeah.
Oh man, Scanners is so much about what happens when you train too many people to know Psytech, right? Like all of a sudden people start being good at it, and it's hard to control them. Isn't that kind of the vibe?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's relating to like basically like. Isn't this something the CIA was trying to accomplish at some point or another?
It's like Firestarter, really. I feel
sure.
Like
yeah.
It's the same kind of movie, like Firestarter movie. Like, God. Instead, they're training like little kids, and what would be the problem with like training a grown up is that they could go crazy and like be off the loose, but also a child could become super powerful, and then they would lose control of them. It's always about lack of being able to control the next generation of Uber children that they've created, enhanced with all these telepathic conditions, right?
Maybe I'm probably late to the party, especially with you guys when it comes to this. Like Cronenberg, he did Crash, right?
Yeah.
And I heard this theory that blew my mind, that the movie Crash is about people that are sexually aroused by car crashes.
That's exactly what it is.
I had no idea.
Never seen it. So
what did you think it was about?
I just didn't know that it was about. It's like,
what did you think it was about?
Park. Like,
what?
Did you know that there's dinosaurs in Jurassic Park?
Dude, Crash came out, I think, within a month of Crash from Dave Matthews Band, their album Crash.
What a weird thing to take away from that movie, Thomas. I don't know what else to tell.
That's what the movie is. That's like what the whole
else
thing is.
There? Yeah.
I thought it was about like a racist guy that was like really into watching people like suffer, and then was having to like deal with his own issues with race because now he's attracted to this lady that ends up getting hurt. I didn't realize it's
James Spader and that Arquette. Rosanna Arquette, is that Arquette? Yeah, and they're just like they're just turned on by car crashes, and it just gets insane. It's a crazy movie, but yeah, I it's on the website. I highly recommend watching Dave Matthews Band Crash with the film.
That's directed by Paul Haggis, though.
What's that?
Crashes? No.
Crash?
Wait,
Crash is directed by Cronenberg.
Are we talking the one with Terrence Howard?
No, that's another Crash.
Okay.
Yeah, 1996.
Yeah, that's actually a good movie too. But
I was confused. I was like, wait,
it's based on the.
I remember this movie being about a totally different thing, but I was
right. Yeah. No, I haven't tried that one with Dave Matthews Band, but maybe I'll watch them at the same time, see what happens.
J.G. Ballard, I liked his books. That's one I read before I saw the movie, so I think it might have been like more obvious as a book or something like that. But I don't know. It seems like there's not a lot of ways that you could take Crash.
I must be also made a different movie that's about car crashes that I'm just trying to search for.
That could be. Yeah.
There's like the Rush, the one about drugs, like Rush or whatever. There's another movie that's more about drugs.
Oh, Traffic? No.
Traffic? I don't know. Something
you get
have you ever
in
seen
Traffic
the TV series Traffic is phenomenal. It's so much better than the movie. Like a million times.
The movie was pretty good, actually.
The movie was good. No, the movie was good. The TV series is better than the movie.
Okay.
What about Cosmopolis? Have you seen Cosmopolis?
Not yet. Have you?
I just saw it. I thought it was pretty interesting. It's interesting that it's got like the Twilight vampire dude as the Wasp, like millionaire, billionaire, like Nova Riche, like Wall Street guy who has to cross town during a sort of 2008 protest to get a haircut because of his arrogance. It's a very like new wave thriller. I like that about it. It seems really cool. I recommend it. I don't know. We should talk about it after you see it.
And I was totally thinking of the Paul Haggis Crash 2004.
Yeah.
Which is the one that has the racist cop that I was talking about.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, is that a third Crash? What's happening?
I didn't even. This one has Ludacris in it and Sandra Bullock. I didn't even know about the Crash you guys are talking about.
Oh, okay. That's got to be what? I've never seen this. Okay.
No.
So Sandra Bullock, carjack. What if this movie is about that though? It probably is, just because we said all that.
Except this one, it's about someone that gets turned on from the 9/11 attack.
Weird.
Really? What? Oh, can you scroll down just a little bit, just out of curiosity?
Sure.
Just keep going. I'm looking for running time. Thank you.
Running time.
112 minutes. Now go look at Crash, the other Crash. It's at the top. Actually, there's a link to it. There you go. Okay.
100 minutes.
Okay, just checking. You
never know, man. You never
like
know.
That.
But like, I don't know. That seems kind of like too close of a subject. If they're interested, they're aroused by September 11th. That's kind of the same thing as a car accident or something.
Right. Yeah.
There must be.
Wait a minute. Is that really what it is? Or aroused by? Wait, what? Is that real?
Or did you just take it that way?
There is a plot point in there that the 9/11 attack is basically traumatized one of the characters, but I don't know if they're actually getting sexually turned on by the trauma. They are. If they're a warm-blooded American, they probably are.
Haggis was inspired to make the film after being carjacked by 2 African American men. Why does it matter that their ancestors came from Africa? At a Blockbuster Video on Wilshire Boulevard while driving home from the premiere of Silence of the Lambs in February 1991.
Hey, do you remember when we were in Africa?
Are we talking cars?
My understanding, we were all in Africa.
Yeah, right.
Right.
As far as car crash movies, I was remembering there's that whole crazy scene at the end of Magnolia, just like where everything's going on at once. But it's suddenly the frogs begin to fall from the sky. One of them hits Donnie, and he falls from the pole and smashes his teeth. As Jimmy is about to kill himself, frogs fall throughout the skylight, causing him to shoot the television and cause a house fire. Rose crashes her car near Claudia's apartment, but makes it inside and reconciles with her daughter. And then Earl is awakened to see Frank beside him before dying, which is Tom Hanks or Tom Cruise's character, right?
Hey, you guys know about Beau Biden? Like all the stuff that's coming out about Beau Biden that has been in plain sight this whole time, but people haven't been talking about apparently. Do you know about this?
No.
You guys so like
tell me, girl. Go ahead.
Apparently, the thing that people know about Beau Biden is his death, right? That he had inhaled fumes from smoke in I forget, was it Iraq? While he was serving, and
right, a burn pit. That's what they always talk about, the burn pit.
So shortly before he died, he had basically gone after the world's biggest pedophile, like serial pedophile, and
he went after his own dad. No, I'm just kidding.
And so, and then from there, I hope I get this all right. This is out there. Like basically, he, from what I remember, what it was that right before he died, or even maybe during that, or whatever, he was going after a known pedophile of like another huge serial pedophile who had molested children at the high school. I believe it was high school, or maybe higher education, but that all the Bidens went to. So like, and it was the incident that he was looking at particularly to have there was a victim who had basically come forward about this whole thing. That it was like the incidents had happened 2 years before Beau Biden had gone to that high school, as well as all the Bidens. So there's an indication that the Bidens were all molested at this high school, and that Beau Biden was making it like his mission, to the point of he was expected to run for senator, and he didn't do it because he was caught up in going after the world's biggest known serial pedophile. And so like of all what's crazy is like of all the talk of everything that's going on about Hunter and the Bidens and all of this stuff is it's like it looks like they were all molested, and how weird and twisted up it must be for Joe to be looking at the two different directions that his kids went with dealing with the trauma of that and who knows what else, you know. But I just find it really interesting that I don't see hardly anybody talking about that, even though it's in plain sight. Like, it doesn't take much to.
I've never heard that before.
Theory. Yeah, it's not a theory. It's all well documented.
When you say one of the world's biggest, like
he had molested more children than anyone known. No,
400 pounds.
He was the most prolific pedophile. I don't know what the operative terminology is there, but yeah, crazy.
It does make sense though that a bow would break before a hunter.
That a bow would break.
Before Hunter.
You've been planning that? That's good.
Hunter and bow, yeah.
It's gold, Jerry. I don't know. You got to do a bit on the Bidens, man.
We call them the aristocrats.
His name was
Dad
Joseph.
comes in, and then the bow goes into the high school, and then Hunter goes into the high school, and then Ashley comes out of the shower, and they say they're the aristocrats.
So the constellation with the Hunter and the bow is Orion, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's interesting to me, like, you know, like astrologically.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. And guess what? What star we were just talking about is in that constellation, but Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Right?
Is in Orion.
That's also they point to Orion in Return to Neverland, and they say it's the second star to the right, which would be the one that's directly next to Beetlejuice.
So let's just do this really quickly. Hold on, I got this. It's too good. When is Beau Biden born? February 3rd, 1969. When is Hunter Biden born? February 4th, 1970. It's like they really like that. They really like that date. They really like.
They're getting it on 9 months before.
Yeah, what is that 9 months date there? What Bacchanal are we talking about here?
Ritual, right?
Maybe slightly more than 9 months, probably closer to 10. But still, the point is that they plan it. Sounds like, right? They want it that day. Like
they plan it.
Yeah.
Connecticut people, they do that kind of stuff. Actually, some Delaware.
Weird. Oh God! But yeah, no. Just the thing with Jeremy. What's his name in Beetlejuice? Jeremy. The 2 J's. The guy we were just freaking talking about.
Jeffrey Jones.
Jeffrey Jones.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yeah. So you get the connection there. That's
it's like Davy Jones, but it's Jeffrey Jones. That's how.
Right, because we're saying the Orion thing. There's a lot to unpack
actually
there.
that's like Davy Jones from The Fog. I don't know why, but
I was thinking Davy Jones or Ferris. Yeah, he was also in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right?
The Fog is super underrated. Like, I don't give a damn about the Halloween movie because I'm not from the Midwest. Like, the Midwest idea of like people coming to your town and kidnapping Johnny Ghosh is like not that scary to someone from California, where you're just all your life always assume that you were gonna get someone like
Lost Boys is like 20 Johnny Ghoshes, right?
Yeah, we grew up like David's like dad knew the dude who was like picking up hitchhiker girls from his high school. Everyone's kind of been like a tight knit community of surviving serial killers. That's like what Santa Cruz is. So the Fog is like reasonable. This idea of like the fog coming over your little town and all of a sudden the fog gets you. I don't know why. I like this more than Halloween. It's like more relatable.
The old fog come in and Jeffrey Jones will get you.
Yeah, Jeffrey Jones. See, because what do you think it is? It's like that mist. Chemtrails and pedophiles. That's what's
the
real. That's
pedofog.
what you got to worry about. The pedofog. Oh my god. It was worth it just for that. I don't know. Was there any point to that? Was there a reason? There was a reason that we did that to Jeffrey Jones. Jeffrey Jones. I don't know.
No, I was saying because the connection with Orion and Beetlejuice, and just like how weird that is. That oh God, how did that connect? There's totally a connection there. I'm sorry. This is
but Hunter and Beau, and then the constellation with the Hunter and the Beau is Orion.
And then that happens to be where Beetlejuice is. Yeah.
With
he following Lepus and
so
Sirius?
the other stars in Orion are Rigel. We've got Rigel, Beetlejuice, Bellatrix, Alnilam, Mintaka, Alantak, Maesa, and I feel like I'm summoning a demon here, and Hatsia. I've never heard of any of these other stars. But
say them 3 times though.
There is another connection here between Orion and Jeffrey Jones, and that's that Orion exists in the constellation because he gets killed and puts into the stars by the gods, right? So like
Right.
they know that he's been taken out of the real world and they just put him in the stars. And here we've got
He's
a
been
movie
canceled into
where they
the
put them
stars.
out of the movie, but they put him among the stars, right?
Dude, this is the kind of shit that I'm like serious. Like when I'm looking at Beetlejuice, I
How
have
does the
to,
substance end?
I have to, right,
Freaking
right,
looking right at Orion, like
dude.
I mean,
Totally. No, but this is the thing is that like I like this whole tapestry that the like their own like the weird ass Hollywood religion shit. Like this is the stuff where I'm like we're like why did they do that? And we're looking for the reasons that we see that are most available, like that are the most obvious. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, like the lens through which like the creators of some of this stuff are treating it with their own ideas around their own hierophantic task, like in disseminating the mystery to the masses through subliminal symbolism or whatever the hell. Like I wouldn't put any of that we just talked about past them. That's why I'm like, I don't know. Why is it kind of like we jump at it and we're just like, oh, well, they did it that way because of it. It's the syntax error that Dr. Judy Wood talks about when she's saying that you can't like when you just like want to skip ahead and be like, these are the explanations for what happened on 9/11. We have our list to choose from. Was it thermite? Was it bombs? Was it this? And she's like, what will you do? Like, and you're doing a crime investigation, like you want to accumulate as much data as possible, let that data speak for itself and not jump the freaking gun and say, this is all we have to work with to understand what happened is the framework that's provided. Like that's what's so messed up about the 9/11 Commission report. Or Helter Skelter or whatever. You have these instances where there's an event and then we're supposed to be doing like a real investigation, which is accumulating as much data as possible. But then when you look at the 9/11 Commission report, it completely jumps the gun by asserting only these things could it be. It's like, what? How do we know that it's not the opposite of a neutron bomb where they destroy the building and leave the organic life? That would certainly explain the row of trees unsinged directly next to a row of cars that are burnt to a crisp, you know, like that weird anomaly shit. Like you have to include that. It's nowhere in the report anyway.
So here's going on with the Jeffrey Jones and Orion syncs here. The only Orion films picture that Jeffrey Jones in was Amadeus. So what, Thomas,
really?
what say you about the magic flute?
Oh. And then also Eugene, what's that movie with the guy?
The Masonic opera, the magic flute.
But also the guy Amadeus.
I got Mozart killed. Don't get me killed.
Yeah, right.
No, over this. Gotta be careful.
No, but
Jeffrey Jones played Amadeus, right?
Dude. So hold on. So the guy.
Sorry.
The guy. No, it's all right. I'm just freaking out because
he wasn't the Amadeus. He was just in Amadeus.
Okay.
Who's the freaking kid? Eugene. Okay, Dominic and Eugene. So the dude who was in Amadeus was in another movie called Dominic and Eugene, where Ray Liotta plays his brother, and he like works to put him through his insane asylum because he's got like a childhood accident that makes him like mentally impaired. So this is the movie that killed the career of Tom Holtze, right, or whatever his name is.
Wow.
Yeah, I forget what we were saying about killing somebody, but yeah. Oh yeah, Jeffrey Jones. That was okay. I'm good now. Okay.
but yeah, the magic flute.
Oh right, yeah. Mozart was killed for the magic flute, and Tom Holtze was killed his career for making the Eugene movie
for playing the magic flute. Oh no. Oh right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, for play because it is kind of. Oh man, I have to think about that because Papagena, in a sense, is the idiot, and he's like they're the prince and Papagena that Papageno are working together to try to get through the ritual, right? And it's revealed that he needs to keep a secret, and he just can't keep a secret. And so the two brothers also, I think, there's the fool and the prince, who's like the wise man, right?
There is another interesting connection here, specifically in Amadeus, and that's because Jeffrey Jones plays Joseph II in that movie, and Emperor Joseph II played a vital role in suppressing the Bavarian Illuminati, who were indirectly financing Mozart and Beethoven.
Yeah, tying it back to Clockwork Orange.
And Bach. All three of them. The Illuminati was the original pop star. Like they got the hip hop Illuminati now. They had the hip hop Illuminati in the 1700s as well.
Dude, with a Clockwork Orange, the poster art for Clockwork Orange with the triangle and the eye in the triangle with his freaking like as it relates to Beethoven, you know, whose primary interests include rape, ultraviolence, and Beethoven, right? So there's something weird going on here.
Yeah,
man.
right.
So who is he in Amadeus? Who does he play?
Emperor
Curious.
Joseph II of Austria.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's weird. Just okay, right. We just established that, right? Okay. Jesus Christ.
I don't know, dude. He's all over the place. There's something going on with this guy. He's weird. He's a weird ginger.
He is. And it's still not too late for him to play L. Ron Hubbard, too. That'd be great.
Yeah. Or do like a Polanski movie in Switzerland about skiing.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, he's also just the Ed Wood movie where he like predicts everything. He's like the terrible prediction.
Oh, that's what I was
Psychic.
recognizing. This was trying to place it. Okay.
Yeah, he's like, am I like always predicting things? This is a weird one to me, I think. Like the fact that he's constantly like the bad prediction psychic.
He's like the bad Cassandra. Yeah.
Right, for Ed Wood of all people, which is Plan 9 from outer space, which also they made Plan 10 from outer space.
Tying it back to the Enneagram, or is that 11? Enneagram's 11, right?
I like
That's
Plan 10
9.
from outer
Enneagram is Ennead and Enneagram is 9.
Oh, okay.
Plan 10 from outer space is about Kolob, which is about the Mormons, and it's all about Beetlejuice, about the Beetlegeist. So that's pretty good.
Is this something I need to see? Is this important?
Yeah, I'll bring it over to your house. If you have any time, probably Thursday, maybe. We can talk about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm open to that. Yeah, you bet.
I'm supposed to go down south to see Sancta Susanna with Noel. We're going to go see that weird play with the nuns and the menstrual blood.
Oh, that looked wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Wild stuff.
Wild. So you guys, I don't know if everyone realizes, but like me and like I texted Zach. I didn't know about Detroiters, and so like all the Tim Robinson stuff with like I think you should leave and all that. Like he's my shirt brother. I got my shirt brother over here. Like we're
Hey,
like
shirt brother.
Like it's just we both resonate with how hysterically funny all of that stuff is. So sometimes we'll have these little references that people might not even realize that we're going there.
So you know what the impetus is for Tim Robinson's writing of a lot of these characters, and he said this. He's explained his methodology. It's like the inherent humor in people that refuse to admit they're wrong and double down and just like
right.
lie. And
which is what I was talking about with the Tinkerbell effect. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Totally.
Like,
so I mean, there's something so inherently funny about exposing that layer of the shadow. You know, because it's you know, there's a lot of people that think that like you know, never admit defeat and just like you know.
In Mein Kampf actually is that to be a good dictator, to be a successful dictator, that you can't admit being wrong about the smallest thing under any circumstances, no matter how minute. And that's
honestly, that indirectly answers your rhetorical question before, but like, could there be another option for how 9/11 happened? No, because that also plays into like how decisive, how quick can you wrap something up? And you can't wrap something up if you're trying to explore like 90 different options.
Yeah, if it's ambiguous, you make the lie. It has to be simple.
But I'm not talking about adding other options. I'm talking about accumulating all the data, and a lot of the data that's left out of the 9/11 Commission report is ridiculous that it was left out. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about we need to consider another option necessarily. I'm saying that don't leave out data and then pull out a jump to conclusions, Matt.
In kangaroo court, all you can do is jump.
Ooh. What the hell were we looking at? That was a Russian.
I was looking at New Pagodi. I don't really know if I want to do like my whole like analysis this very second. I don't know if I could like articulate it perfectly, because it's also like past the 2-hour mark. But basically, it's something to the effect of the Soviets had their own Tom and Jerry kind of thing.
Was that Catching a Rye right there? Oh, sorry.
It's kind of, and it's also got like a very deep vibe. But I don't know, define deep, right? Like it could be that anything is deep if you're Slavic, because Slavs are deep because you starved them for so long. You know what I mean? Like there's a level of deepness to your audience. It's going to make the show more deep. But I would say that you've got this bunny rabbit is sort of the new Soviet cosmic man, right? It's like the perfect, ideal, good, hardworking, blue-eyed, like Soviet Russian, like rabbit that is going to be preyed upon by the kulak, by the materialist, by the Western influenced bourgeoisie individual, the wrecker, right? The wolf, right? The wolf. and the wolf is sort of. But as the show goes on, it becomes very clear that there's sort of some sort of a romantic. Look at the eyes, right? There's
Right.
something almost romantic between the wolf and the rabbit.
Right. So Sirius is the eye of the canine constellation, Cananis or whatever. And isn't that right by Lepus, which is right by Orion, as though to say that Orion is hunting the rabbit and the dog?
Right. And the rabbit's also associated with Asia, and like the new Soviet man might even be the Maoist.
Oh.
Right, because the Chinese rabbit, essentially. But it's funny because this cartoon's supposed to be a Tom and Jerry thing where they're chasing each other, or well, rather the wolf is chasing the rabbit. But I feel like it becomes clear that the rabbit wants to be chased, and the wolf is sort of to their own nature. And maybe it's like integration. It's all about like the desperate need of integrating the bourgeoisie and the proletariat to make the new cosmic man, right?
Have you seen much of the Uncle Fyodor cartoon too? It's about this kid, because I worked with a bunch of people from Ukraine for a while, and this one guy was like, you have to watch this. It's like the most surreal thing. But it's about a kid that runs away from home and with his talking cat, and they find a stray dog, and they find an abandoned house, and they move, and they basically squat in this abandoned house. And the whole dynamic of the show is that the mailman keeps coming by, and the mailman is like might have to turn him into the state if he figures out that this kid's living by himself without parents. So it's this whole story about this kid and his animals trying to dodge the state so that they won't turn him in, but also just having like a fun childhood without parents in an abandoned house.
All right.
What's it called? So Uncle Theodore?
The guy's name is Uncle Fyodor. That's how he introduced it to me. But the name's 3 from Prosto Kajvishno or something.
You're gonna have to help me find this
Dude,
one.
you guys remember in 4 Rooms when that's the whole thing they're making fun of Tim Roth about, is that his name was Theodore and he wanted to hide it, and then the guy's like calling him Thumper or whatever. He's like, and then he like freaks out because he was tortured as a kid for being named Theodore. But yeah.
It's a horrible, horrible thing. I don't know, like Theodore is always like a pretty underrated chipmunk. Shout out to Theodore, but Fyodor, I feel like if you don't want to be a Theodore, just tell everyone your name is Fyodor, like with an F, and just be like, I'm Fyodor, F-Y,
Right.
Fyodor.
Dude, look at those legs, dude.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm clearly talking about the cat, but okay.
Yeah, right.
Zach's a beautiful man with a beautiful smile, and he's got a great energy, and he also makes music sound better. You wouldn't believe it from the way his microphone sometimes hisses on this show, or how he picks up the echo of David. But my friend here is someone who can compress sound in such amazing ways. I would say it would be crazy for you not to listen to some of the music that you can listen to that he's put out there. He's the operator and owner of the Bright Star Studios Golden, which you can listen to different kinds of music here. Not only does he like mix music well, he has like all kinds of cool tools. So it's fun to just see this stuff and to hear how he goes about making sound. I mean, it's awesome, right? Like we're all sound people. We like sound people. That's what Zach is. Zach's a sound people. He's a sound person for the sound people. You know
I've been doing a lot of live sound lately. I've had the opportunity to mix some really pretty cool shows. There was a band from Dublin that was in last week called Sprints. They were really fun.
Dude, but, look at your Euro rack, you freak.
Yeah, it's a problem. Shoot, it's
Shame on you for having Euro racks. Actually, shame on you for having such a cool set of shining sheets. Because like I haven't been jealous in like at least an hour, and now I'm jealous again. That's pretty.
Hey, Zach, did you ever take a photo of when you laid out the pennies in the formation?
I got close. You can scroll up a little bit. Yeah,
I really wish I could listen to this right now on your
yeah, that was when I was taking those classes with Lon Milo Duquette, doing some of that.
There's your son there.
That's my son.
Aww.
Yeah, he's doing good. He's 20 now, living in Tucson.
Epic. That's bass. See, a musical family. So what did you want me to click on here?
That picture with the star. I've got a bunch of pennies on that hexagonal table. Go up. Keep on going up.
Cool.
That on the left there.
Oh, hey.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah, I started doing that, and it got real. I think I did get. I don't think it was as many.
No,
what was
it
the
has to-
deal supposed to be? Because I thought it would work because of the shape of the table. Because you
so
can
the
see how I kind of aligned it up to the.
Right. So the deal is that if you look at the $1 bill and you see that 6-pointed star that's made up of 13 stars in a formation, that if you continue that same pattern in formations, extending it outward, if you do it 9 times, so 9
that's what it was.
extensions, then
9
you
again.
end up with the gematria of Israel.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Right back to the 9. That's great.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the gematria of Israel is. I have to spell it out. But yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, it's yeah. Never mind.
It's not even real.
Israel.
But the drip is real. This is the cartoon about the cat. I feel
This
like
is
I've
the
seen
one.
this
It's
somewhere.
it's very
wow.
dark, but also I feel like you would appreciate it.
Hey, can you throw this in the sync message area?
Sure.
Yeah, I'd love to check that out.
And that's the
It looks
mailman. That's the
great.
guy that's constantly trying to like turn him back into the state.
This looks good.
Dude.
I like Winnie Pooh. Also, you've seen Winnie Pooh, of course.
Oh, it
Yeah.
almost it looks like Christopher Robin in that image.
Yeah.
Like that was it was like it's very. Oh, this is the.
Winnie
Yeah,
Pooh is
I
a
have seen
super underrated Russian. You know, like Winnie the Pooh. I would say like everyone should watch this one. It's like the true Pooh. A little bit more dark. Definitely like you have to be careful with the amount of psychedelics that they started taking in 1968 in Russia. But like the next
They
10
just start
years,
going blind.
All their animation is just like super wild. What's the one like the Soviet alien animation? What's the one that's really good? This one's good. Contact. Watch Contact. It's all about like a Russian dude who's like smoking, and all of a sudden he meets like a crazy alien, and they start making music together.
Is that Russian John Lennon?
Yeah, it's like completely. You know what I mean? This is.
I guess he really did imagine all those things that he was imagining.
Dude, it's got,
Imagine
like,
there's no country.
super flamenco moments going on in here too. All right, but yeah, so Zach's art. Make sure you guys check out Zach Brower, Zactron 42. Because guess what? The number 42. It's always 42.
It's always 42
on Synctank. 42. Get it go right. David Plate, MK Ultrasound, making all kinds of waves in the world. If you're checking out his highlights page, you can check out 7.5 thousand views on his Rosemary's Baby paired with Beatles' White Album. Not bad, pretty good. Also doing which one's this? This is Lana Del Rey's Honeymoon with Polanski's Bitter Moon. A lot of Polanski syncs recently have been on my mind, so I really recommend checking this one out. And then also Rainbow Thief.
Yeah, the Substance one, I think I got up to like, what is it, like 120,000 views the other day, and that's new. So that one kind of blew up. But yeah.
Wow.
Dude, so how far down do I have to go to find Substance?
Oh no, it's not in my highlights. It's just on my regular page, and I don't know how far down.
Okay.
But yeah, it's down there somewhere.
So are those links?
I was going to do it last week, but I forgot. Yeah. Anyway,
I'm not on Twitter for whatever reason. But are those hosted on Twitter now, or are those links to the sync book?
no, I've been uploading them to Twitter for a while now. So I have like probably over 100 on Twitter, but I have over 200 on the website. But yeah,
So
there's ones that are on Twitter that aren't on the website, and there's ones that are on the website that are on Twitter. Sorry, what's that?
Well, that's good.
No, I pushed that everyone should
there it
see
is.
The Substance, and I think everyone should check out. If you've seen The Substance by now, you definitely need to watch David Plate, MK Ultrasound, Substance with Katy Perry's 143. This is crazy. I gotta be careful, even like.
Yeah, you should be careful with that. Yeah, once you show that.
Yeah, I'd be careful zipping through this one because of some crazy stuff. This movie's amazing. I think it's a really good movie. But also with Katy Perry's 143, it's clear, bro.
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
I'm so scared to push the button. Oh yeah, I mean, dude, everyone watch this movie though. Like, just do it. It's probably worth the time. And then Paranoid American, how are you doing? I know you got your comic book coming out right now.
Yeah, I always got a million things going on. All these big ones: Titanic comic, Satanic Panic comic, Illuminati comic, and even better of an incentive. Once I get these ones out the door, the next one is going to be the Golden Bough comic that I've been working on with David for well over a year now, I think, right? Like, it's written, the script's ready to go. We're just going to have to run a campaign to raise the funds to do the artwork, and then that's going to come out.
So everybody, you already can see that we have 393.
This is the next one
followers.
to bust. Yeah, that's going to be the Illuminati comic, and at this point, we're just putting together all the stupid thumbnails and uploading all the things to all the places, and this thing's gonna be launched. I'm hoping at least by a month from now, because we want it to run through Black Friday and Christmas.
I mean, it's got Echo the Dolphin, Mickey Mouse, and Scrooge McDuck. Get in here. Get in here. But also click on this one. There's only 39 followers for the Satanic Panic. This is the one I kind of want to see happen sooner than later. But I need the Titanic sync trick track.
I'll be happy to report both of those are completely done. The artwork, everything is done on these. I just need to run the campaigns so that I can afford to print them.
Yeah, so make sure you guys support and click on the followers link through paranoidamerican.com, because I really want the chick tracks for the Titanic one as well. It's an educational thing. It's just something I need, you know? Like, you ever talk to somebody and you want to just hand them a Paranoid American chick track? Do you have any idea how much more of my life I could just do that? I could just be like, all right, here you go. No, all right, here you go. Here you go. And I could go do something else with my time. So
Thomas, in that Titanic one, do you go into Who Flamed Wabba Wabna?
Oh, Who Flamed Wabba Wagner? Just full disclosure, Zach and I were on LSD, and we watched sync with Titanic and Wise Blood, the 1953 Titanic with her album Titanic Rising, and like it has what's her name?
Robert Wagner.
No, but the girl who died Natalie Wood, and so like Natalie Wood is like young in that movie in the Titanic, and then she died at sea with Wabba Wagner, and so he was like, so it was like Who Flamed Wabba Wagner while we were became this like crazy laughing fit about. For some reason, that was like the funniest thing you'd ever heard in that moment.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
You had to be there.
You had to be there.